Welcome to the DGaming conference of SiGMA 2018, sponsored by DGaming Media, chaired by John Robbery. What is the decentralized gaming industry? Get ready to explore what the decentralized gaming industry is all about. Let's delve into the trends, the economy, and the future of this budding landscape. John Robbery, DGaming Media.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2018 DGaming conference. I first want to start by thanking the SiGMA team for putting on this fantastic event. I can see that they've all worked incredibly hard behind the scenes, and I know myself and the rest of the DGaming team are delighted to be able to have this platform for which to showcase the DGaming industry. So, I'm the editor-in-chief of DGaming.com, and we're a media, research, and events company. Our mission is to highlight the great things that are happening in the DGaming industry and really grow the audience and move towards mass adoption. One way we're doing that is by creating industry reports. We recently created a report that was picked up by the likes of VentureBeat, Yahoo Finance, Business Insider, and many more. So we're starting to reach a really wide audience. So as part of our mission to really grow this audience, we're coming to places like SiGMA to kind of tell you all the great things that are happening in this industry. So today we've got a number of excellent speakers for you, where we'll be exploring the opportunities that lie in the industry. We'll also be looking at some of the challenges that we face and try to create innovative solutions on how we can fix them. And my favourite, we're going to look at some of the game mechanics that are made possible when the blockchain meets gaming. And also we'll have a little look into what's possible in the future. So you may be wondering, well, what is DGaming? You've probably heard DGaming mentioned in different ways: blockchain gaming, or crypto gaming, or blockchain gambling, crypto gambling. DGaming encompasses all of those things. We believe that if we're to get mass adoption of the DGaming industry, we need to make it a much more user-friendly term. So DGaming does that. But effectively, it's a new game economy that removes the edge between gaming and gambling using blockchain technology. And the blockchain technology allows the introduction of new game mechanics. It also adds new layers of security, trust, and ownership. Now, some of you may be wondering and thinking, well, I'm at an iGaming conference. How's gaming relevant? Well, this quote from the Nintendo president really resonated with me. He knows that he's competing for time, and he needs to think of creative solutions in order to gain the interest and attention, especially of a younger audience. And according to research by Statistica, the number of young gamblers is decreasing. But is it any wonder why, when you've got new technologies such as VR, esports, free-to-play monsters like Fortnite, and a range of other console games and even mobile games, that the choices are endless. So in order to understand how we get to this new market, we've got to look at the market that's really driving DGaming at the moment. And it's Dimitri. Dimitri has a high technological threshold. He's passionate about technology. he really values the philosophical aspects of the blockchain and values freedom and ownership and things like this. Now, Dimitri is super important for us at the moment because he's really pushing this industry and he's willing to overcome the hurdles and some of the difficult entry into some of the games. But if we need to grow, or we want to grow to where we can, we need to be looking at Harry. Now, Harry is your everyday guy, passionate about sport and gaming. He enjoys the social aspect of gaming, and he doesn't care whether blockchain is the technology that underpins his game. He just wants a smoother experience, and he just wants to know that A is better than B. But I feel once we can get to Harry, he will discover a world where he knows the games are provably fair and completely transparent. He'll have true ownership over in-game items and assets. And of course, a lower health edge and more accurate odds is always good. Plus, we're going to find a world where all of his entertainment interests are merged. Now, a question I often ask people in the industry when I speak to them is, how far away are we from reaching the likes of Harry? When is mass adoption going to happen? I asked that question yesterday of Brock Pierce, who is very influential in this industry. And he said to me that the blockchain industry has just had their Netscape moment if you compare it to the development of the internet. And that struck a chord with me when I was looking through my slides last night, because as you can see, there's a massive upturn in the volumes that's happened recently. But we still need to overcome many challenges. The market is still in its early stages. It's probably a year old, and there's barriers to entry both for businesses that want to get into the market and also for the consumers. One thing that needs to happen is the user experience needs to be made a lot smoother. It needs to be comparable with like the iGaming experience. And the market needs to be made more approachable. At the moment, when blockchain games are marketing their products, they mention blockchain all the time. They mention a lot of jargon. This is off-putting for a lot of people. It's focusing on the Dimitris of the world that I spoke about, but it's completely missing the Harrys. But ultimately, we need to create games that are better than what the existing market offers. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And one way we can do that is by raising awareness and bringing mainstream names into the industry. Okay, so as a writer, one of my favorite things to do is try and envision what is possible in this decentralized world where gaming and gambling merge. One of my favorite projects that allows me to do that is the Decentraland project. Now, for those of you who don't know, Decentraland is a decentralized world where, as we speak, users are buying decentralized parcels of land in this virtual world. And some of them are going for enormous sums, $100,000 and up. Now, with this decentralized virtual land, people can build anything they want. It's literally limited by their imagination. And one thing that I've seen discussed quite a lot is how they're going to incorporate gaming and gambling into this virtual world. So I believe that in the not too distant future, Harry will be able to put on his VR headset when he comes home from work, and he'll be able to go into Decentraland. He'll be able to go to the gaming arena and battle his wizard that he's been building up for the last few weeks against his friend's wizard and place a bet on it. He'll then be able to, with his winnings, go next door to the casino, where he will find provably fair games that are completely transparent, more interactive, and have amazing game mechanics that blow his mind. All this will be possible in places like Decentraland thanks to blockchain technology, and no longer will we have to worry about all of the other competing things for Harry's attention, because they'll all be merged into one. So I just want to end with a reminder about the DGaming report. It's the best way for you to keep track of everything that's going on in this industry. Thank you.
The blockchain gaming revolution. ICOs and blockchain are disrupting the iGaming and entertainment industries. But how will monetization tie into this new space? Carla Marie Vella, Consult XD. Steve Muscat at Sopardi, Ketkuti Kauki Advocates. Wesley Elul, Quizando. John Robbery, DGaming Media.
Okay, welcome. So in this talk, we're going to be looking at the monetization aspects of blockchain. It's a question that always comes up when I'm speaking to people, and we've got a fantastic panel here today to discuss. So if, Wesley, you could start, you could just introduce yourself and tell us what expertise you're bringing to the panel today.
Well, I'm Wesley Elul. I'm from Quizando. We're running a private sale right now before we go to ICO. What we have as Quizando is a platform, a quiz platform, which allows influencers to monetize their influence directly by hosting live video quiz games with their audience. So this is perfect for this panel here. I've been in the blockchain industry for the last 6 months, so to say, and been talking about how Malta can assist a lot of people in the blockchain and gaming industry, which has a perfect blockchain island.
Excellent. Steve?
Sure. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm from Ketkuti Kauki Advocates. We've been one of the earliest legal firms active in the gaming scene in Malta from back in 2004. And over the past couple of years, we've been more active on the blockchain and DLT side with helping clients to understand the merits of Malta, what Malta offers for people to launch their ICOs, any service providers such as crypto exchanges, etc. So really keen to see how they go together.
Thank you. Carla?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carla. I'm the former managing director of the Betson.com brand. And then after that, I was the CEO of Optimizer Invest, which holds the brands Katana Media, Gig, and brands like Casino Heroes. 2 years ago, I jumped into the blockchain space, and the reason I am up here and wide awake is because last night I was writing a paper about monetization on blockchain because I'm doing my master's in this space and applying it to making money.
Obviously, that's the most important thing. So, Carla, actually, we'll start on that. Have you had any interesting discoveries while you've been writing the paper?
Yeah, well, just to put things in context, this paper is actually about insurance and how the blockchain can disrupt insurance. But we also explored how insurance and gambling compare to each other. And I think, like, if I were just to make it a little bit lighter for this morning, rather than jumping into tokenomics, I know you want to, but I think that the exciting thing about tokenomics within the gambling space, particularly, is the amount of creativity enables you to do. Because once you actually have individuals or consumers in your ecosystem, it enables you to pretty much push and play, add value in different ways than a normal gambling operational, this is your spin, this is how much your operator or your provider expects from the cut of that, and then, oh, we need to maximize our money on top of that, and then we need to provide free spins to the consumers on top of that. So and then you need to report all that. Once you're in a blockchain ecosystem, that changes a lot. The reward systems and how those attribute to tokens, if you even want to attribute rewards to tokens. It's a very interesting way of adopting technology and putting it in front of the customer.
So something I was reading recently is there's a lot of ways people can define what the token does, and I know a lot of businesses have been struggling with defining what a token does, and how important is that to really nail down exactly what the assets?
Steve, why don't you take this one? You're the token dude.
Thank you. So we, as a legal firm helping clients to launch a good number of ICOs, we've reviewed different white papers, and there's a huge spectrum out there, from really good ones to, let's be polite this morning. So a good token gives the person buying the token an actual buy-in to a community, to something that they want to use, that helps grow the blockchain ecosystem within the blockchain platform. So if you're looking at gaming, for example, obviously there's a natural sync between gaming and tokenomics, because gamers are used to having in-game tokens. From the old age physical casinos, you go in, exchange cash for plastic tokens, which within that room will be worth 5 euros, 10 euros, and so on. So they're already used to that idea, that we'll assign value to something and use it within that playing field. On a wider scene, applying that to the use of DLT within a gaming platform, you can use the token itself to raise funds, or as the entry ticket into a platform. And then there you need to make it attractive for users to come in. Why should they come in on this platform? What can they do there? So that we've seen some really interesting platforms coming out where there's a token to buy in to a gaming platform, and then that can be exchanged further for different tokens within different games, for example. So you've got a unit of currency, if you like, a common unit of currency, which you can use then within different games. And in one game, it might be actual gambling, so you're playing money. In another one, it could be a video game type. So you're actually buying or exchanging your tokens for skins. You could win more tokens by going up a level, by defeating different targets. So that's where the value of blockchain applied to gaming comes in, is that you no longer have someone who can come in, play a bit and then leave. You keep them incentivized and motivated to stay within there, to earn more tokens, buy more tokens, spend the tokens, exchange the tokens. That's an economy.
Yeah, that's one of the most exciting things about what blockchain adds to this industry for me, is the way that the gaming and gambling can connect with the use of tokens, and how assets can be used and swapped between different games and stuff. I think it's really interesting. Is there any aspects of this that you're using on your platform at the moment?
Well, what we're doing is we're creating like an internal economy in our platform. So because we are working with influencers and content creators who are going to be the actual hosts of the game, the idea is that the token comes into the game, gets held within the game. Players actually use that money inside. The winnings will come out in token. and the influencer will then be paid in token. So this person is now going to create his earnings through this. Obviously, there's things like staking mechanisms so that they can then use this token to get preferential space on the website, say a top billing and things like this. But the idea is that you have an economy going around, so you don't just have the token coming into our system, we make the money, and one winner makes the money, and it sort of just stays there. The idea is it's pooled around. In time, what we're looking at is having a bunch of other games using this same token in various different other platforms and internally within our platform. So the token does need to move and just not have that one stop on the journey.
Sure. So, and what's your plans to monetize?
Oh, we're monetizing directly. The way we work is a pay-to-play mechanism.
Right.
We've been in existence for 2 years already as just a basic cash play quiz platform, and that's already monetizing to 12,000 players. So what we're doing is we're taking the tokens that they already have in the system, that they've already bought, but it's not blockchain-based, and we're converting that to a blockchain-based token. The other thing that we're also looking at is how, in the case of blockchain, how that can help with transparency for everybody involved. Because I'm dealing with multiple parties, if you are hosting a game and, I don't know, there was 100,000 players or 101,000 players, and you want to know that you can actually trace all of those players, not just have to rely on me as a trusted source, but you can go through transaction after transaction, get your accountant to do it, and make sure that all the money that you were owed comes back to you. So it's the token and the actual blockchain which have value within these systems. So now we can also expand our games out to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who can actually almost be mini operators in their own right. So they can bring them in, you connect to them, and they're trusting you because they can see the data over there.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And on the subject of monetization, I know I was speaking to Carla earlier about her experience in like the mainstream gambling industry. There's a lot of talk at the moment, Carla, with a lot of the decentralized gaming platforms about a 1% house edge and things like that. How realistic do you think that is to continue?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch
So
what you
a 1% like house edge and really minimal.
I'm not really familiar with the 1% quote that you're thinking, so I've not read about that myself, so I'm sorry, I just won't be able to answer that one for you, but maybe somebody else can.
You need to do some amazing volumes to do that. I mean, the volumes need to be ridiculously high. When we're looking at the volumes and the tech you need to put into it and the support, and I mean, everything that's involved in that, a 1% edge would, I think, would break most companies unless you have the market say that Nintendo or Sony PlayStation has on that. Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely something that's being used to market the industry at the moment. How sustainable that is, I'm not sure.
I don't know any company in the world which would actually work for 1% profit, let's put it that way.
Yeah, sure. So, Steve, you mentioned to me when we spoke about the Malta sandbox. Do you want to discuss more?
Yeah, sure.
What that
so
is?
the Malta's Gaming Authority has come up with a sandbox regime. So the idea here is to allow an environment in which companies that wish to utilize blockchain technology applied to the gaming world or gaming industry, which is obviously extremely highly regulated, will allow new operators or operators who've got a new idea, if you like, to be able to operate in a less restrictive environment. So there are some limitations on what they can do and how much of the market they can, they can go to. But it does allow them an easier way of entry than meeting all the hurdles of going for the full licensing immediately, if you like, which obviously bigger operators can do so. I think that is interesting because for the new operator, it allows or the entrepreneur who wishes to enter the scene. It allows them the facility to do so, and to do so in a high-quality jurisdiction, that is Malta. And for the incumbent operators, the small fledglings, some will die out, some will keep going, and could later be acquired by the bigger operators, or could of course be competitors to the big operators, but that's good clearly for the gaming from the consumer side, having a wider choice of different games, different operators, different platforms. I think the reality is we're here talking about blockchain disrupting the gaming world, and I do believe blockchain is just one small part of the innovative technology that's coming to the fore. So we're seeing gamers using virtual reality to a phenomenal extent, and that is still very much a nascent technology. So there's still a huge way to go, both in terms of the actual hardware and the ways of getting that deployed out to people, and what they're doing on the software side to make the experience ever more realistic. And the mechanisms they've got to actually integrate a virtual reality with what's actually in front of you physically. So, bridging that gap between the virtual and the real space. Artificial intelligence should also be of huge interest to the gaming world in terms of having operators be able to crunch through vast amounts of data, which the blockchain provides from the way it's built at a granular level. So you're going to have a huge, there's a wealth of opportunities out there. It's really going to be, I believe, tech is going to be the driver of the next wave of gaming companies, to the extent of how are they able to exploit it by making use of it, integrating it within their platforms, their systems, and not just looking at tech as a tool or a means to an end, but actually integrating it, and it's a tech-driven company. The tech is the company. The user is in the tech. That's the company. That's the.
You mentioned blockchain disrupting gaming. From the experience of you guys, how willing have mainstream gambling companies been to explore the benefits of the blockchain?
I think it's time now to look at it actually. First of all, I see that I don't think that gambling is disrupting blockchain. I think blockchain's there. It's a disruptive technology that needs to be adopted by multiple sectors right across the ground, right? So you've got your JavaScript, and then you've got everything else that taps into it, right? So it's a technology, like you said, but it's a disruptive technology that people can take on or decide to ignore. Thankfully, 10, 12 years ago, people didn't ignore the internet. And one of the things that I think that one of the things that I'm hearing out there by some of the greatest minds in blockchain, like earlier this year, I was in Vegas and I had the opportunity of interviewing Anton Antonopoulos, who's a wonderful guy. You read his books called Mastering Bitcoin if you're into the technical kind of stuff, and the themes around Bitcoin specifically. And he said to me, he's like, well, I'm not particularly interested in gambling, but the best use cases of the blockchain technology are in the gambling sector. And I said to him, well, really and truly, isn't that where the internet exploded from? It was porn and gambling, let's be honest. And we've always had this opportunity of, you were talking about numbers before, and you were talking about massive amounts of numbers. Well, if you look at cross-sectional segmentation of users and the volume of users, you'll have high volumes in gambling and e-commerce. However, the volume and your lifetime value of a gambling player versus an e-commerce platform are very different. So the opportunity to monetize, and we can even talk a little bit about investment in the space and why it's a lucrative opportunity within the gambling industry still, even though we've seen the highs and lows and pretty much crashes of coins and everything in the last month. But investing, he said to me, he's like, if I was to take a sure bet, we didn't take the bet, just to set the record straight. But he said, the gambling industry is certainly one that can adopt blockchain. However, where it does adopt blockchain that's where it really excites me. Because the blockchain technology can come into the gambling sector and disrupt your KYC. It can disrupt your payments, it can disrupt your RNG, it can disrupt your game generation, it can disrupt your sports book, it can disrupt your casino, it can disrupt your customer. Shall I keep on going? Because I'm getting out of breath. So that's why I think he said that to me. And when I start to think about it, I was like, shit, like this is fantastic, because this is a space that I know a lot about, and the opportunity sits there in front of us. But the big guys are too excited earning all their money and going into the US now, or hello to them, to maybe think about the disruptive technology and how it can be applied into the core central parts of their business. So that's where the entrepreneur comes into play, right? And that's another area, of course. Then we tap onto the funding, and I think I said this 2 days ago on stage as well, or I started to say it, was you've got these entrepreneurs who have pitched and started their ICO. The market crashed. All the people with cryptocurrencies don't have money to invest anymore. Everybody's hodling. That means holding their coin, right? It's a spelling typo joke, internal joke. So everybody's hodling. So the big guys with all the money, the crypto funds, are hodling at the moment. They're not putting their money into the startups. So all the startups are like, wow, yay, traditional investment, knock, 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 VCs, knock, 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 family offices. Hello, here we are. And you've got some of the most insightful, smart people in the space, working on these new technologies, looking for funding, ready to give an equity position in their company, and you'll have innovation in your back garden. So I think it's pretty simple. You're laughing at me, Wesley.
You've just explained like the last 4 months of my life.
and I mean, I don't know your personal story, but I hear it a lot, and I see it. And I've got entrepreneurs knocking on my door, and I'm like, stop knocking on my door. I cannot find you the golden ticket to investment. Go to the VCs. Convince the companies, the big guys, that your technology belongs in their company. Go in, be their incubator. You need to think of where your business belongs. And use their skills and match them with yours.
No, that is happening in this space right now. That's happening a lot. I do know a number of gaming companies in this space. There's the guys of SPN. There's ourselves. People like G8 Coin. These are all various different multi-based ICOs which are going through this. And there is the whole VC knocking on door thing that's happening right now, because a lot of the people right now are obviously trying to raise funds. Gun8 is doing something a little bit different in their with their token, where they're spinning out a token because they believe that the blockchain will move things forward, and they're already a very big, strong, profitable company. So they're actually just converting their system into a tokenized system. But the VC world is now getting interested. The doors are being opened. But obviously, if you've ever been involved with VC funding, that is a long, drawn process. You don't knock in day one and day two. Although, which is funny, that in the crypto space, an average crypto VC will take 3 weeks to actually convert from your initial talks, pass through the board, to an actual investment check. It can be that quick because that's how the markets were. They were very, very quick. They were very, very fluid. As the crypto profits went down, as the Ethereum, Bitcoin, and all of that has sort of disappeared in their profits, they were a little bit less ready to part with everything they've earned. So right now, it's sort of like a stalled, quiet period. In fact, anybody in gaming right now who can find an amazing project out there should look at these guys right now. Maybe not in token, but look at equity, because these guys are going to explode as soon as the market goes back to the tradition, the growth that we've been seeing over the last 10 years.
And a lot of the startups are starting to say, look, like I'm not looking for you to invest in my token or even adopting an STO model. A lot of them are actually going back and saying equity. And a lot of the traditional thinkers, the standard, we can say standard or traditional, the way you look at it, are happy to look at an equity position now. So the startups are saying, all right, I understand that if I don't get capital in, I'm going to have to stop my project. And that's a mighty shame. So, I'm willing to take that step into the equity space and give away a little bit of my company because I want to keep on going with what I deem is a great value proposition to a business.
Cool. So we're quickly running out of time, but I just wanted to see if you had anything to add, Steve, before we wrap up.
Yeah, I think just it's important people understand that when we're saying blockchain can disrupt the gaming industry and monetize it, the opportunities are end-to-end. It's not just the operators. For example, you've got affiliates coming in. Blockchain would make that so seamless. Anyone who's due anything, you build in smart contracts where the gamer comes in, whatever pitch they put, you know what the affiliate is due, and it's done. I mean, you don't look at it, it's audited, it's done, it's part of the transaction.
Instant settlement.
Instant settlement, the money is there. You can reconcile, but it's an easy process because it's a ledger, it's there. You know?
And there could be other wonderful things that can go along with it. There could be, like, for example, while you're playing a game, there's, I don't know, pop-ups to buy the merch. So that could actually happen in process with this blockchain technology.
Yep.
The affiliate could even get a cut of that. With the openness of these databases, you don't have to be as worried as connecting to a private database somewhere over here and creating all these weird APIs. Once you have these standards and protocols, there's so much that can happen, and it's a very exciting time.
It becomes, I think, a good point, it becomes much more two-way, rather than the affiliate gets the player, sends him to the operator, and it's a one-way flow of people, and you know, the other way for the gaming. It's an interaction. People build together, they grow together, and the more they do it, the more they can find you know, opportunities and means of doing that.
I just think that, like, my closing word would be, if you think that you've seen it all when it comes to no-account casinos, wait for blockchain. Honestly, it's a whole nother story of enabling customers and building business. I mean, it's just fantastic.
What she said.
Carla, Steve, and Wesley, your passion for this space and your insight's been fantastic to listen to today. So I just want to thank you all for sharing your insight with me and the audience today.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
having us. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Fantastic.
Good stuff.
Gaming on blockchain, challenges and opportunities. An industry set on integrating blockchain technology is sure to face challenges and opportunities. As we move on from legacy systems, let's turn our attention to solving scalability on decentralized platforms. John Robbery, DGaming Media, Steve Tendon, Blockchain Island Club, Khaled El Bedr, Microsoft.
Okay, hello again. So it's a hot topic for discussion on blockchain and decentralized platforms, how we're going to solve the scalability problems. First, I want to just start by asking you quickly just to introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit more about what you specialize in.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Khaled El Badri. I'm working for Microsoft as a technical sales specialist looking after open source solutions on Azure. And I have a focus on blockchain technology, especially in terms of blockchain in the cloud.
Cool. Steve?
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve Tendon. I am, you probably heard this expression, the blockchain island. I think I'm the culprit of having created that. I worked for the government here, designing the national blockchain strategy for the Ministry of Economy. Then I was on the National Blockchain Task Force, transforming that strategy into law, working for the Financial Services, Digital Economy and Innovation Ministry. That assignment has come to its natural end now that these 3 laws have been approved, and I've moved over more to the private sector. I have my company called Change Strategies. I provide strategic advisory to both small startups and large traditional incumbent industries in any kind of sector.
So, Khaled, working for Microsoft, what's their interaction with the blockchain and their view on the blockchain?
Yeah, we've started our journey with blockchain a few years ago, and I think this fits with the new model or the new Microsoft. So the new Microsoft is embracing a lot open source, trying to work with the community, and our strategy was clear from the beginning. So we were not trying to fork any existing technology or create our own solutions. What we were trying to do is to come with a scaffold and try to integrate existing technologies. Most of them are open source by nature, bringing this innovation and make it easy to consume, make it integrated with our platform. So the journey of the developer or of the administrator becomes much easier by consuming like Hyperledger or Ethereum or Corda or Chain or whatever DLT you are using within a bigger portfolio of off-the-chain databases, developer tools. So bringing all these technologies into one consistent platform, rich platform, and come with the plumbing to shorter the time to value is the strategy that Microsoft has today. So that's in terms of the technology. From another aspect, we're trying also, we say, eat your dog's food. So we're trying also to innovate with blockchain by adopting it internally. And we have actually a public use case around Xbox, where we created a platform for publishers and developers to share royalties and to automate a quite complex process. So we're helping in terms of the technology, but we're also adapting and we're trying to provide some real use cases and scenarios to inspire the community and learn from it.
Cool. And Steve, you have actually really unique experience from another angle. What's your kind of experience with how businesses engage with the blockchain, and what kind of things have you been advising?
Well, I think one needs to start by understanding what kind of innovation this blockchain is, because on the basis of that understanding, you will reconceive your own business, or rather your business model. And it's not always self-evident how a blockchain can help businesses or even be a threat for existing businesses. So that is like the first step. And I heard on the panel the statement that the blockchain is a disruptive technology. I do not necessarily agree. It might be disruptive for certain sectors, but the major impact on the global economy is that this technology is a foundational technology, which gives rise to new ways for the economy to flow in between the various actors. So, having said that, if you're a business owner, a CEO, an entrepreneur, a startupper, you need then to understand, well, what kind of blockchain will I apply? Because it's one thing if you want to be a player in the quote, the real blockchains and the public permissionless blockchains, or if you rather want to use private, permissioned, basically the glorified database blockchain. Those are two completely distinct cases and can both be used in a business context. Of course, if you are in the line of thinking of the cypherpunk crypto-anarchic libertarians, you would not even consider permissioned private blockchains, but they do have use cases. Maybe they're not so challenging. They are not really impacting your business model, but they can be used. I'll just make one example. We have here in Malta a number of huge iGaming companies that have been growing through acquisitions, mergers, and acquisitions. Well, when you have that scenario, when basically you have an information system that needs to extend across legal boundaries, across organizational boundaries, well, in that case, a private blockchain could be a good solution. Maybe it's not a high-performing solution because in that space, dedicated, well-equipped Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server database will certainly outperform any kind of blockchain information system. But if you're going through a merger and acquisition and you still have legal boundaries in between the various entities and they need to share and collaborate on economic data, on transactional data, then a private blockchain can be very helpful. On the other side, if you are really understanding what the blockchain is from a global perspective, so we're talking about the permissionless open blockchains, well, that is really the challenge, because that is where your company might be really at risk of being disintermediated. So that's when you need to think about how can I maybe not even redesign, but reconceive, rethink my business model entirely, because the mechanics of value delivery will be completely different.
Mm-hmm. So I noticed you nodding when Steve mentioned that blockchain isn't going to be able to replace some of the existing softwares. And what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first thing we need to keep in mind, and this is what we usually tell customers who are interested into blockchain. Blockchain is not there to solve technical challenges. You usually can solve these problems with traditional databases, with modern databases, with other data solutions. Blockchain is there mainly to solve political and organizational challenges. So challenges related to trust, challenges related to a process that goes beyond the walls of your organization. And that's the real value you get out of the blockchain. So now, when we look at the big picture, so blockchain is just, or I would say the DLT is just the visible part of the iceberg. So a blockchain is not a solution that is in silo, and it requires usually integration with existing technologies. So that's why, back to your question, like even if the blockchain solution will replace some existing maybe processes and tools, but it still requires integration with other solutions. I can give you an example. You have your data stored in the shared ledger, but you need to do some visualization, some business intelligence. Well, for scalability and performance issues, you cannot run it on the DLT, so you will need to bring that data off the chain, and then we're back to a discussion about SQL, NoSQL databases, BI tools for visualization. Same thing, in many use cases, we're talking about blockchain and IoT. So if you have IoT sensors, you still need to have the ingestion process for those, signals. You have to probably do some massage of the data. You need to clear some, noise, and then you can. So again, you will need the traditional tools or other data tools to complement the full solution. And again, we talk about machine learning. We talk about we can extend the discussion to many other areas. So blockchain is great to be a piece or a part of a bigger picture, and it should not be considered isolated from the rest of the solution.
So, considering the scalability issues that have been raised with the blockchain, what's your thoughts on that?
So we're trying to tackle, performance and scalability, challenges that we have today. So first, we're trying to provide the different technologies available today, because depending on the use case, depending on the performance you need, the number of transactions you need, you might go for a ledger or another, a DLT or another. So you might go for Corda, you might go for Ethereum. Ethereum will have some limitations. If you're running permissioned, blockchain. So today, the marketplace is very rich, and depending on the use case, what we're trying to do with our customers is to educate them. Start first with the use case, what are the requirements? And then we help them first to choose the most suitable, I would say, technology. And that's the starting point. Of course, we're trying to bring all these solutions into our platform, and as I said, we try to make the deployment as easy as possible. Next step will be like designing the data. So as I said, not all the data should reside in the ledger. So this is an architecture discussion, like which data should be in the ledger, which data should be moved into faster platforms. Again, like NoSQL databases, for example, or to queues, or so that helps also reduce the the overhead. We're also trying to innovate at the infrastructure level. So again, especially if you're doing something in the cloud today, you automatically gain in terms of performance and scalability whenever the foundation services in terms of compute, storage, network improve, and that's what we're doing every day. So the economy of scale. With the economy of scale, we bring the latest network cards, the latest storage, and that foundation brings better scalability and better performance automatically to everything that sits on top of it. We're also trying to help developers to be more efficient deploying their solutions, because when we talk to developers today, what developers want to focus on is the business logic, or basically writing their smart contracts. And they want to be able to iterate, they want to be able to embrace DevOps, do multiple deployments, but this is a new area, so not everyone is comfortable with applying DevOps into, for example, smart contracts. And that's another area where we're helping with. It's not really related to scalability and performance, but it boils down, again, to effectiveness and to agility. So we're bringing new tools. In fact, we just released a DevOps toolkit for smart contracts 2 weeks ago. So we're tackling the challenge from different angles. We're trying to improve the performance of the foundation services. We're trying to bring all existing technologies and advise our customers what is the most suitable solution they want to use. And we're bringing integration with additional services. And I think that's what our strategy is today.
Excellent. That's an awesome and very comprehensive answer there, Khalid. Thank you. Steve, I know it's slightly off topic, but I really wanted to talk to you more about Blockchain Island. Kind of what your vision is and how you see it developing over the next 5 years.
Well, the development of this vision started in 2016. Mm-hmm. So that was a time where things were not suspect. We focused from the very outset on generation 2 blockchains, those with decentralized computation, basically Ethereum with smart contracts and any other DLT technology that supports smart contracts. Why? Because we understood that the capability of providing decentralized computation would really rewire the whole digital economy of the world, no matter which sector you were focusing on. In 2017, we know we had the explosion of the Bitcoin valuation. We had the other explosion of all the ICOs. Many countries reacted very quickly. They did some sort of regulation on those aspects, so the financial aspects, the cryptocurrencies, ICOs, and tokens. Malta didn't move because we were working on a plan which was much more ambitious. In fact, when these 3 laws came out, that entered into effect at the beginning of this month, so they are not even a month old, there were 3 laws. One was pertaining, the Virtual Financial Assets Act was pertaining to exactly these aspects of cryptocurrencies, ICOs, and tokens. But we had another 2 laws which I would say position Malta in a completely different space compared to other jurisdictions. The first law is competing with other jurisdictions in that dimension, in the financial services dimension. The other laws, one of which instituted a new regulator, the Malta Digital Innovation Authority, and I stress the word innovation, rather it's not the crypto authority or the Bitcoin authority or the blockchain authorities, it is about innovation. And the second one is the Innovative Technology Arrangements and Services Act. The name is long and it is generic. It talks about technology arrangements. So it's about new kinds of innovative technologies that come about. And the blockchain with smart contracts is just one of them, AI, IoT, or others. But in particular, the concern is about those kind of technologies that have at least the trait of autonomy, like self-driving cars. And additionally, for the situation of the blockchain industry, when we talk about decentralized autonomous organizations and similar solutions, in addition to having the trait of autonomy, they also have the trait of self-sufficiency. Now this creates a number of let's say, legal challenges, which we are addressing with these 3 laws and a 4th law which is coming out. But to make the long story short, I think that any company that is developing decentralized applications, in addition to maybe running an ICO and using a tokenomic model in their business model, what Carla was talking about earlier, will find in Malta an incredibly rich environment for supporting decentralized, autonomous technology arrangements. So that is what I see happening. In the next few years, the other jurisdictions will catch up. Malta will be attractive not only because of the regulation of the financial services, of cryptocurrencies, ICOs, and tokens, not only because of the tax regime, not only because of the IT infrastructure that is already here, primarily because of the iGaming industry, but also because we will be supporting these new kinds of technologies in a new way. So those companies will come here. Those who are developing decentralized apps, decentralized iGaming platforms, decentralized exchanges, decentralized fund management applications, decentralized insurance applications, decentralized anything. And we see this playing out in a number of ways. If you're running an ICO, that is like a one-time event. Maybe you might even run it in another jurisdiction because for whatever reason you find that more convenient. You can run it as well in Malta, and the situation becomes even more interesting with the security token offering. Malta is well equipped for handling them. But the second part of the life cycle of these startups, which start with an ICO, that's the one-time event. The second part is when they become operational and they are deploying decentralized autonomous technology arrangements onto a blockchain platform. It is that side of the life cycle of startups that Malta will support very well and which we do not see today in other jurisdictions. So you might launch your ICO anywhere, but when it comes to the daily operations of running your business on such a platform, Malta will be an incredible place to do that from.
And are you seeing people recognizing that fact? Like businesses, are they starting to recognize that fact that Malta is the place to be? Yeah.
Yes, I've had statements from a number of decentralized app developers that have been informed of what is happening here, and in particular about this fourth law, which maybe you've heard about, is about recognizing legal personality to these technology arrangements. Well, they all tell me if that's going to happen, we will just flock to Malta, pack everything, stock and barrel, and move over to Malta.
Excellent. So we've just got a few more minutes left. I just wondered whether you had anything to add on what we've been talking about today.
Yeah, so I just wanted to complement maybe, regarding the last question you had. So today, when we look at the blockers for blockchain initiatives and projects, the number one blocker, I think, is the leadership, is the decision-making and the leadership. I think Malta is doing a great and amazing example of proving the leadership in this area. And another fact I wanted to mention, and this is from my experience with Microsoft, despite the fact that many organizations are still a bit suspicious about applying blockchain. Well, I can tell you from my experiences that most of the discussions we're having today is with public sector and with governments who are trying to create a blueprint or standard blockchain platform. So once those projects will see the light, that should be a big enabler for everyone to move from early adoption to mainstream.
Excellent. So I think that wraps it up. I'd just like to thank you, Khalid, and thank you, Steve, for your insights you've added. It's been amazing talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Round of applause, please. Okay.
Language-based creative AI to turbocharge your revenue. Competition for customer attention is at an all-time high. Can creative AI be the solution to creating a meaningful connection with audiences? Paul McNee, Pasado.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm actually pretty pleased to see so many people in the audience. I did a talk at ICE about 5 years ago, and they gave me the graveyard shift of 9 o'clock on the Thursday morning. So we had a panel of 5 and only 4 people in the audience. So we ended up getting everyone up on stage and having a bit of a fireside chat. So I'm just glad that there's more people than I can fit on stage. I just wanted to take you through a brief overview of creative AI and how we can use AI to effectively create a new style of marketing communication between your brand and the consumer. So my name's Paul McNee. I'm Director of Gaming at Pasado. We're going to have a 15-minute break from blockchain, which is why we run through some of the key aspects of how we can use AI in this context. Pasado is a company that's 7 years old, headquartered in the US, which is why most of you in the room will never have heard of it. Pasado grew out of a very successful mobile SMS business called Upstream. And what they noticed that when they were sending out SMS messages, small changes to the words they used had a significant increase on performance. And they couldn't work out why. They knew that there was some sort of emotional element involved, so they built out a data science team around that proposition, which led to the creation of Pasado 7 years ago. So today, Pasado has the world's biggest database of marketing language. So over the last 7 years, we've tagged and tracked every single word, phrase, and emoji that's been used in a marketing context. And what that means is that we can suddenly link words, phrases, and emotions to find out the sweet spot. What emotions are your audience actually responding to? So does it work? Yes. Last year, across 300 clients, in multiple sectors, from financial services, fashion, travel, we had an average increase in conversion of 41%. And I don't know any other technology in the world at the moment that's delivering that kind of performance. Also, we've been described as one of the most disruptive technologies. So in the US, we're sitting alongside Uber and SpaceX as companies who can transform sectors. We've only got 10 minutes, 8 minutes now. So we're going to have a really quick blast through an overview of creative AI. So looking at the problem, And many of you will experience this in your own businesses, that typically we're seeing customer engagement at the top of funnel start to drop off as we're seeing the increased use of ad blockers, but also an element of banner blindness. Engagement with traditional channels such as email is plateauing or even declining. And then competition is more fierce than ever before. So creating that differentiation between your brand and your key competitors is becoming more and more difficult. And when we look at the typical creative process, does any of you know when the first written advert was published? Any guesses? 1704. And pretty much since then, this process has remained the same. So we've got a preparation phase where you start building out the ideas behind the campaign. One of your team will come up with the incubation, the control element of the idea, and then we'll look at ideation, how they can evaluate that, and how they can elaborate and push that out to a greater market. And what I tend to get a lot of at these kind of conferences is, well, yeah, we understand the creative process, but a machine will never replace a human within that process, because a machine can never add that sort of creative flair. And to a degree, I would look at that and say that, okay, well, for things like writing a novel, at the moment there's no capability for a machine to go and do that. But what we're talking about here is marketing communication messages such as email subject line, email body, landing pages. And what I'm going to show you now is how we can use machine technology, AI-powered machine learning to improve this. So looking at 3 potential problems, the first one is that we only use a small amount of the potential. The average human speaks about 40,000 words in their vocabulary. And we carried out a study of the top 20 brands in the UK, and we looked at the words that they were using in their email subject lines across all brands, all sectors for these top 20 brands. On average, they were only using 293 words. And that's to explain their whole brand values to their audience across a 12-month period. And I think what we've ended up is that we've had 25 years of A/B testing, and we've really got now down to a very narrow context of the language that we use. I did a similar example for iGaming, where we looked at the top 20 brands in the UK for gambling and casino. Guess how many words they used? Any takers? Right, higher or lower? Lower. So on average, there were only 155 words used by the top 20 brands in the UK. And you can already imagine what the top words were. It's free, bet, now, spins. So we're all speaking the same language, and we're not speaking the same language as our consumers. Second problem, we stick to some pretty random opinions, basically because we're using our own insight and sometimes our own bias. So this was a campaign we ran for a charity earlier this year. And what our machine does is break any message down to key components. So we've got human-generated version here, AI-generated here, and the machine will look at these key elements. And what we saw was that by changing a small amount of language, by changing certain key elements, so for example, we focused on different benefits because we saw that the audience was responding to those emotions. We removed the icon, that pushed up a 3% in performance, and just changing the tagline added an extra 12%. And what we can work with clients around is delivering not just sustainable uplift, but actually an understanding of what type of uplift delivers that increase in performance. And then also we tend to repeat the same mistakes. So this is a graph that looks at 15 key emotions. So these are the key emotions that behavioral psychologists say drive cognitive behavior around purchase engagement. And these bubbles represent the size of email campaigns. So over here at the bottom, you've got a small campaign that delivered just over 12% in performance. This campaign, using urgency as its key emotional driver, was also a poor-performing campaign. So effectively, you've got these that performed badly compared to the top-performing emotions. And in this context, this brand was using these key emotions the most time. But what you can see here is a pattern emerging, where over here, the brand is focusing on emotions like fascination. Because somewhere in its brand psyche, that's what the brand thinks will actually get cut through. And they think that's the kind of language that will engage its audience. When actually, it's emotions and words that drive anxiety, guilt, or gratitude. What we see is that the different emotions will change over time, depending where the customer is on the life cycle and depending on product. So it's about understanding which emotions actually drive the engagement of your customers. And machines can help us do that because machines can access the data that a human, quite frankly, can't. So we mentioned about the limitation of language that we were using in our brand communication, 293 words versus a human vocabulary of around 40,000. Well, what we can provide is access to over a million tagged word phrases and emotions. So we give you the whole semantic universe for you to actually make decisions about how you create language for your consumers. And to put it in a different context, does anyone here play Scrabble? I only play Scrabble at Christmas. And imagine this is you and you're playing against Auntie May. If Auntie May has got access to Google, an online thesaurus, she's going to beat you every single time. And the reason is that she's just got access to knowledge and insight that you don't have. And that's what we provide for marketing teams. We give them an unfair advantage so that they'll beat the competition who don't use the system every single time. And then in terms of speed, running through this creative process can be quite laborious. I mean, I know from working with copywriters in the past that the last thing they want to do is actually sit down and write an email subject line for a campaign. So it tends to be something that gets drawn out. Preparation takes a while, evaluation takes longer, and then the elaboration phase takes even longer than that. A machine can do all these tasks in milliseconds, so it saves you time and allows your team more time to focus on those hero campaigns where they can make a real difference. And then finally, ultimately what we're trying to get to is personalization at scale. So this says me. Actually, this isn't me. I don't dress up at weekends or anything, but this is my boss, Maria. And this is her neighbor, Kate, who again is a real person. Now, when you look at their marketing profile, they're identical. Married, same age, 2 kids, living in the same neighborhood, same postcode. If a car brand wants to sell to them, a car brand will send out exactly the same message. When in fact, what we know is that they're driven by completely different emotions. My boss, Maria, for example, is a typical, very protective Spanish mama. So when it comes to automotive, she's driven by safety. She wants to know how the vehicle will keep her children safe, how it will keep her safe. Her neighbor, Kate, is an ex-semi-pro snowboarder. She's driven by different emotions. She's driven by adventure and excitement. She wants messages about what she can do, where she can go. But if you're the car brand and you just send out a generic message, you're missing out on driving that connection. And it'll be a similar concept to how you're talking to your customers at the moment. By sending out a single message and not looking at how the emotional breakdown affects different segments, you're missing out on how you can create bespoke, personalized communication. So back to this. So creative AI effectively fits in across most stages of the creative process. So from preparation, evaluation, to elaboration. Probably the biggest area it can impact is ideation. We have a machine that can run through 1 million different options in a millisecond to create a campaign. And then what we end up doing is creating a number of examples that your own creative team can then adapt, adopt, make sure they're on brand message, and use those to engage your audience in a more effective way. But ultimately, when it comes to the incubation phase, where your team have to come up with the ideas, I get most of my inspiration from walking the dog. So my suggestion here, get a dog, borrow a dog. And that's it. We're just at the start of the creative process, looking at how AI can drive better communication with your customers. So we've got lots of white papers on our website. If you need anything, please feel free to get in touch and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
Data science, the building blocks of gaming AI. iGaming stats and data science are a match made in heaven. Now is the time to get knee-deep into player behavioral science and AI-driven gamification. Igor Samardzicki, Nexus Gaming Intelligence.
Hi. So I want to speak to you a little bit about what we currently have within our industry, within the gaming sphere. And I want to pull a few statistics about what it means for us to actually apply AI to our requirements and to our customers. So within our industry, it's a well-known fact that the largest operators, the tier 1 operators, do process more transactions than the New York and London Stock Exchange combined. We have a tremendous amount of data that we go through on a player-user journey. Likewise, we are one of the most engaged industries when it comes to player interactions. So if you take a look at number of customer interactions per purchase on companies like Amazon, or if you take a look at GoDaddy, so one of the largest domain providers and hosting providers in the world, if you take a look at industries that are comparative to ours, you will find that we spike 2 to 3 times more per engagement in number of customer interactions. Now, when I say engagement, I mean a purchase, right? So it would be necessarily a purchase or an interaction with a website. So if you compare that to GoDaddy, it would be something you would need to do with your domain or your hosting. If you look at Amazon, it's really what you're looking when you're purchasing a product. In our case, what we are looking at is an average of 46 customer interactions per every 100 engagements, right? What that would mean is that's 100 playing sessions or 100 deposits, whereas any other industry just would dwarf any other industry. The reason for this is how we've positioned ourselves within our gaming sphere. We're incredibly bonus-oriented and incentive-oriented industry within the online gaming sphere. And our customers, we're a service-driven industry. Our customers are repeat customers. They keep coming back, depositing more, and creating more gaming sessions. During their experience, they will go through ups and downs. Even the nature and the demographic of our customer is very volatile, right? As a result of that, what we'll tend to do is treat our customers and service our customers from a customer service perspective once a scenario has been played out. In comes AI. Right now, we have capacity for AI to actually drive data and make sense out of data more than we ever had before. You're hearing about AI on a regular basis from various aspects of the industry, ours and outside. We had an AI painting the other day, and I think another one was sold at Christie's a few months ago for an insane amount of money. We have capacity to treat and target the customer on an individual session basis. Now, what does that mean for our industry alone? You see, every time a customer engages with us, they go through a plethora of emotions and scenarios. What we tend to do at this moment in time is take a look at the most common denominators and structure and segment our customers in relatively generic groups. We take a look at the most obvious variables, such as lifetime revenue, for example, or a monthly revenue, or volume they would generate on a particular brand or on a particular product of ours. And we start structuring them in groups. The next step in our day-to-day engagement will be to engage those customers post-scenario. For example, if we had a customer lose more money than they usually would on any particular night, we would reach out to them the next day through some sort of CRM campaign and try to recover the scenario of the previous night. It is physically impossible to hire a sufficient amount of customer services agents and VIP managers to engage customers on a very real-time basis. Now, it's great to say that AI can do this. AI can take a tremendous amount of data, and we say that. We can process far more data than any human could. But factually, we process more data than any other industry. If we've put, and we at Nexus, we have done this, we have taken GAN networks, we have put adversarial networks, and we just chuck them into a data pool. And it's like giving an infant an entire language to learn without any sort of guidance or perimeters. So what we have found out is that what we needed to do is teach relevant data sets and relevant data interactions. So we took a look at what actually drives a customer and what drives customer experience. Why are customers playing with us? This is a collection of a number of polls done on a UK market. And what we have found is that most customers talk about the quality of site. And when we say quality of site, this is a vast generalization. Actually, they talk about the quality of product. And the quality of product includes a number of things. I mean, obviously, a smooth UX user experience, but it also includes how they interact with customer services, how many games you have, and so on. We try to subcategorize this. And we notice that the quality of site comes at the top because it's a very general statement. And then they say ease of depositing, which effectively is their way of saying, I want to be able to make a purchase within the means that they do. And we have, I mean, you're from the industry, so we have many, many deposit methods that customers have access to. Then they go to bonus offers, which is loyalty, and length of cash out times, I want my money out, and maybe ease of registering here, customer service. So you have from 30 to 43% is this segment of what actually drives customer engagement. Why do they keep playing? So we took a look at this, and we said, this doesn't really give us much in terms of what motivates a customer. We want to dig deeper. We want to understand what makes a player play and keep on playing. Right? We wanted to understand what motivates a customer from not withdrawing or depositing a certain amount of money. What motivates a customer to change a game, to change a bet size? Why do they play the way they play? And we realized that we have this information at our fingertips. And whereas we may be able to process that by treating a customer on an individual basis, 1:1, there is no way we can hire enough resources to do this on the thousands of active players that currently we have playing in various casinos. AI can, however. And what's possible to do today is analyze something as simple as one of the links we've drawn, which is balance over time. So what we have taken here is a bet size and balance over volume, right? This is a very small customer example. This customer is playing relatively sizable bets in relation to their balance or bankroll. And we took a look at what are the motivations and game changes behaviors. So he said, right, we have a machine. Let's take a look at what we look at and what would be interesting to look at on real-time, ongoing basis. Well, a customer started at about 200, not about, 200 euros as a deposit. And they were fortunate enough to kind of trail their balance between 2 and 3. They haven't been really winning, but they haven't been losing their money. Their bet size stayed exactly the same, right? During this time, we say, okay, what motivates a customer to start the balance? They're playing over some time. We want to see what is the correlation between time on device, the actual time playing, versus the desire to win. In fact, one of the most important elements is the length of cash out times, which implies customers are there, obviously, to win. Nonetheless, we are an entertainment industry. There is a spectrum here which counters winning and the desire to win versus being entertained for the money invested. We want to take a look at how we can drill down this customer experience. And we notice some really interesting things. We notice coefficients that can tell us tremendous amount about the human psyche itself. So we had a number of, this is an example of one of the customers. We've done thousands of simulations of this kind from various customer experiences. And we've noticed we can profile customers in a very real way and engage them in real time using AI. For example, on this particular customer example, even as the player continued winning and reached almost twice their balance, they haven't changed their bet size. They felt very, very comfortable with where they were at. We take a look at this moment here. It's a very interesting moment. At about 2 times their starting buy-in, they had doubled their bet from 10 euros to 25. That was an indication that they have actually increased their bet to bankroll ratio works in parallel, right? See, that doesn't sound like much at first, but then we realized a customer that is engaged, taken up by the experience, more emotionally prone and volatile, will actually, we've seen examples where bet rises far more aggressively to the actual bankroll. Even a small feeling of a win will make them engage far more aggressively with the game. That's both profitable for the business, but it's also dangerous, because what that tends to do is burn a customer experience. Their own desires would actually contradict with a duration of play, a time on device, that entertainment factor that we need to achieve. Likewise, as this customer started dropping in balance, so going back to their original balance, to their original cash out amount, their bet size spiked again. They were prone to more risk at this moment in time. You see, we cannot catch this on customer-by-customer basis. We can build really complex algorithms which read previous sessions over the last 20 and 40 hours, and then we can make some really complex segments. And we will very efficiently email those customers, SMS those customers, and approach them post-result. What we cannot do is catch a moment when this customer is either about to close their account out of frustration, or about to withdraw, or possibly about to do something that may not be considered socially responsible, like increase their bet sizes astronomically, chase their losses, and so on. We cannot proactively treat the customers at the volumes we have. We can with the help of deep mind and machine learning, because we could, and we have, attached our AI models to trigger various bonuses, to trigger changes in bet sizes, and to actually make micro changes to the customer experience in real time, prolonging customer lifetime value. This particular case I chose because it's very, very interesting. In fact, it speaks to one of the customer profiles. As the bet went up, this customer was fortunate enough to win. So here we have a bet at about 50 euros. And it's a win, it's a win, it's a win, up to almost triple the balance. And something really interesting happens. Without any more volume, meaning no more bets are placed, the balance reduces by 200 euros. We realized that this customer had a point of withdrawal. Even though they had sufficient amount of balance in their account, they wanted to protect how much? Exactly what they invested in. Right? So what does that tell us to their exit coefficient? If you treated a gaming experience, the desire to win versus the desire to be entertained, you could almost look at it as a stock market experience, right? Playing with stock markets is effectively a risk. They have a certain buy-in and then an expectancy of an ROI. Once they've reached a certain amount of money where they feel they're winning sufficiently enough, no matter whether they're entertained or not, that will saturate their desire for an exit. In this particular case scenario, it's really interesting because they still wanted to play it. So they wanted to keep being entertained. Nonetheless, they needed it to be risk-free. We catch these and many other examples when we take a look at ongoing player behavior, from website control to how they interact with our various pages, when they change the games, how their bets change, which markets they choose. We have access to an insane amount of information. In fact, too much information to just let a deep mind make its own conclusions. What we can do, however, is teach relevant links and algorithms and paradigms to allow real-time customer engagement and increase customer loyalty and retention. That's it for today. Thank you very much.
Game mechanics and decentralized gaming. Blockchain technology is the next step for gaming. The emerging tech combines the best of both worlds and makes for a smoother, more captivating experience. Time to dig in. Mantas Ratomskis, TonyBet. Dimitri Belianin, DAO Casino. Monty Munford, Forbes. John Robbery, DGaming Media.
Hello everyone, welcome to this excellent panel we've got. I'm really excited about this for a few reasons. The first is because exploring the mechanics offered by decentralized gaming is one of my favorite topics, plus we've got an excellent panel and we've got some opposing sides of the coin and different ways we can explore this. So I just want to start by asking you guys to introduce yourself and give a bit of information about your background. So if we could start with you, Monty, please.
Well, currently I write every week for Forbes, contribute to BBC Economist, Economist being the big one there, I think. Strange career. I mean, I was actually in gambling. I was one of William Hill's youngest ever betting shop managers. I managed one of their shops in the White City estate in London in the 80s. And I've done many different things. But I suppose I was an anti-technologist when I was a traveller, which lasted for about 15 years. So I'm a kind of digital newbie, I suppose. But I retrained as a journalist in 1998, at the time that digital was just kicking in, which was great luck for me. So over the last 20 years, I've seen the internet, then I've seen mobile, and now I've seen blockchain. And they all seem to they seem to promise a lot of things, and they generally do become mass adopted, but it just takes time. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how that fits in, how these two gentlemen can kind of teach me about the gaming mechanics. I mean, I used to be quite big in mobile games. It's another story, but I'm more interested in them two than I am myself.
Cool. Dimitri.
Yeah, so I'm a Chief Marketing Officer of DAO Casino. And we're working on creating the new gambling 3.0 industry, basically. We're creating a blockchain protocol for gambling to make sure that all of the transactions inside of casinos will be transparent, will be fair. And what we do, we're trying to create massive awareness about the whole gambling blockchain thing, because we see that nowadays, bigger companies, they're afraid of what is blockchain, and not many of companies, they do understand the real value of the blockchain technology, because most of the people, they do things that basically blockchain is all about cryptocurrencies, but blockchain is all about technology. And this is what we're doing. We're trying to disrupt basically this whole gambling, classical gambling world by introducing the new gambling 3.0 industry.
Yeah, I spent a couple of years in one of the biggest at that time social media groups called Forticom. At that moment, we were, first probably the real business in Russian region with Odnoklassniki social network. We owned 1.lt and 1.lv in Latvia and Lithuania, and also Nasze Klasy in Poland. So basically, there I was head of research and development. It was 7 years ago. And then I cardinally switched my career. I moved into e-learning, and for 5 years, we were sort of technology suppliers for e-learning companies in the Middle East. It was all about K-12, business education, and so on. And a bit more than 3 years ago, I joined called Dark Side, gambling. So at the moment, I'm a casino manager and head of a casino product at TonyBet Group.
Cool. So to start off with, I really want to get your insight, Monty, on how you see this new technology emerging compared to all the other technologies you've seen emerge over the years.
I take it you want me to use like blockchain with gambling, or blockchain in
just
general?
Blockchain in general.
Well, I'm a believer in blockchain. I think the internet is infected. I think it's full of bugs. I think it's become not what it was supposed to be. And I think blockchain offers, especially with smart contracts, a form of value, and I suppose most of all a form of trust, that you believe it. I don't think many people in the internet now believe in the internet or what it used to stand for. It's become a bit, as you said, the dark side. I'd like to use an example if it comes down to horses, race horses. In the UK, I mean, I said this yesterday, but the UK bloodstock industry or the UK horse racing industry is based on 3 horses that came from Arabia in the 17th century. It's quite a famous story. But from that point, 3 horses have branched out in like a family tree into a situation where a rich person or a racehorse owner will buy a yearling or a 1-year-old horse for up to $3 or $4 million. And the only reason that they're buying that horse is because of the progeny and the legacy of the mum and the dad and the sire of the dam. So this, in some ways, is a very good example of a trust system that is based on a kind of weird form of blockchain, that you trust that that horse is going to win every race because these other horses won before, and you can prove it. It's almost like a smart contract. These horses don't always win. Sometimes they fail, and they fail more often than not. And I think that's maybe something that we need to be wary about with blockchain, that everyone thinks it's a panacea for everything that's wrong with the internet. There are opportunities clearly with gambling. You have people that are used to in-app purchases with games. I'm waiting for these two to tell me about it, but I'm intrigued to see about how blockchain is going to, positively affect gambling. I mean, I've seen for myself, managing shops in the 80s, what gambling can do to people. And I have a 15-year-old son, and he will never download a gambling app. I will disinherit him. I mean, because I know that if I gamble on horses, I take my money out of my pocket. I see it physically go over there. But going like that, I'm not so sure it's a good thing anyway.
Exactly, it's just numbers on the screen, isn't it? So
and it's so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some research in the UK last week that 50,000 UK teenagers between the age of 11 and 15 are addicted to gambling. That is beyond fucked up. You know what I mean? So I think that people in the industry, they have a duty of care. It's a terrible phrase, but to make sure that the blockchain doesn't create an even worse scenario for people, or young people especially, who I love gambling, but I've got 30 years history of form and knowing horses and all that stuff. But I would never play on a fruit machine or anything like that.
Sure. So, Dimitri, to answer the points Monty raised, how does DAO Casino kind of combat those issues?
Well, Monty told us about smart contracts. Basically, still in the blockchain on the decentralized casinos, we're using the same KYC mechanics as everyone else, so we're sure that no one, like child, will play. And
so is it 18 plus then?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So
and it's complete KYC.
Sure.
Full on. Okay.
Yeah, sure. There's a dark world. Not a Tony bet, of course, but there is a dark world outside. A lot of people they're trying to involve this young child into the casinos, but our goal is to create the same KYC process for everyone to make sure that everything will be transparent and fair. And we have a smart contract system you've been talking about before, and this is another part of the story, because sometimes players are being cheated while playing in casinos. Some script casinos running algorithms which are not allowing players to win, or sometimes they're not getting paid their own money because they invested in casinos and they never get it back. But with the smart contract system, no one will ever cheat you, because once you hold the money into the smart contracts, once the game is finished, every single party, like game developers, affiliates, they're instantly getting their money back. So no way of like anyone can cheat. And we're doing this solution. We delivered smart contracts which are built into the state channels with a random number generator inside of these channels. I will be talking more about this in my dedicated speech later on. But no way anyone can cheat you in this, real blockchain casinos, not just the casinos with cryptocurrency as a payment,
So Mantas,
Okay.
I can see you're itching to get started over there.
From my own experience, I know that when we speak about new technology, we have to get rid of all the hype, because all the technologies 2 years ago, everyone was speaking about AI. Now we are speaking about blockchain and so on and so on. Everyone who is technology, basically early adopter, they're extremely hyped. They think that this technology will save the world, and we will get rid, of all the devils and so on. But no one actually speaks about the end user. When we speak from technological perspective, yeah, it looks nice. But how are you going to explain how this technology will make life easier, for example, for a 50-year-old lady who is a recreational player living in a suburb of London, and she just likes, to, as you tell, give real money and win, if I place 20 quids, I want 30 quids. And if I, for example, I place, bitcoins, any kind of coins, and I win them back, and suddenly I don't know the real value of it. And all that buzz about blockchain reminds me discussions about urban mobility. 10 years ago, when SiGMA was introduced, everyone was like, wow, this is gonna change the world, and suddenly cars will be out of the roads and so on. And actually, yeah, I saw a few guys in our city who rode that at that time. And I was also amazed about the product. But when guys were asking, are you going to get it? I was, hell no. Why? Because I don't know how this technology works, first of all. I don't have trust in it. Trust is the key thing while adopting new technologies, especially in a gambling world, which is extremely conservative. Yeah, we are speaking about lots of innovations, but still, this is the most conservative market I ever seen from licensing perspective, from regulations perspective, and especially in the same market as UK, for example, right? There are lots of, sort of habits which form during ages. Then guys go to pub, then they go to watch, football match, they place bets, then they go to the same pub, to watch their sorrow or to celebrate. And what happened with the same SiGMA, that technology, which at first was clumsy, it was too pricey, it was extremely odd, because you don't want to ride SiGMA because you look like a dork in it. Suddenly, after 10 years, we see that 9 bots by SiGMA took roads by storm. So we are at the very beginning of it. And
I agree with you totally. I just wrote a piece about exactly that for Forbes, about the idea of the SiGMA and all that stuff. And this again iterates my point that the hype is hype, but it does happen.
The hype is real.
Yeah, the hype is real, but it takes a long time. I mean, you use that example of the SiGMA. Now we have e-scooters taking over the world, absolutely. I mean, I can probably go back a bit earlier when 3G was the licenses, the amount of money that the UK government and global government spent on 3G. They hadn't even built 3G, and we were shown all this great mobile broadband speeds. I think, but it did happen, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think you're absolutely right to warn people about the hype.
Exactly.
I think it probably will happen. I think it might be a bit weird.
But we will know in what form it will happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, because technology will shift. And, speaking about blockchain per se, I'm never a fan or I'm never opposite for new technologies, but from what I hear in the market, that first of all it is trust, it is also anonymity. Let's discuss anonymity on Facebook, okay? When we speak about the world where 1 billion people are active Facebook users, they don't care about privacy. They really don't care about privacy, and they want to have a process which is purely structured. They want to rely on something which is written on a paper. This is basically, we are speaking about licensing, we are speaking about strict regulations, and when we speak about such markets as, for example, the same United Kingdom, right? There is no problem with cheating at the casinos, because we have to deal with the most strict regulations worldwide. So how about games licensing? How about payments operations? How about KYC operations? Because now, from gambling perspective, process is very strict, extremely regulated, but we have to follow it. When suddenly I get involved with a crowd of people who will see my transactions, who will, who I don't have trust in it, because gambling is a private process. Either it is a part of your, Friday night routine, or it is just a way to spend time, while you are commuting to work.
Cool. So we've actually gone quite off topic, but it's been so interesting listening to you all talk. But before we go, I have to ask you, Dimitri, what are the new game mechanics that you're excited about that blockchain provides?
Well, when a game developer comes to me and starts asking about what do I do with my next games, how can blockchain help me? I'm telling him, don't worry about blockchain. Create a new, exciting game so that player plays this game. And then you'll put blockchain on top of this, like added value. So like this added value, one of my favorite game mechanics I love the most is tokenizing the game items. Basically, you can buy some item, you can, I don't know, open a loot box to get some items, and the biggest part of it, every item will be stored in the blockchain. And if the game is closed, something happens, you can exchange it to the cryptocurrency anytime, and you're not losing your game progress, you're not losing any value. And if a game developer, he'll be able to put his game in a multi-game system, the players will be able to transfer their items in between games. I mean, they can get some value of their tokens and then buy items within another game. And this is just amazing, because, the people, they're spending their lives playing World of Warcraft, for example. They get all of those items, and then the game is closed. I don't mean the World of Warcraft is closed, because it's still live, but who knows, maybe in 5 years, no one will be playing World of Warcraft. But I've spent so many time inside of this game, I want to keep my value of these items, and blockchain is allowed.
So you can see a world where ownership of items and opening loot boxes is incorporated into like casino games?
Yeah, sure. This is actually the topic of my discussion, and I think that such added value as loot boxes inside of casinos, some tokenizing game mechanics, this will help casinos to get more, younger people, new users, because people are getting bored playing like traditional casino games. They want something new, something, shiny, VR things, a lot of different things.
And here we have a problem, because what you told, they will help to attract younger people. We don't want to attract younger people.
Not like 80
yeah,
minutes, no.
But basically, all the regulations which we face at the moment, it is all about recreational players. We have to get rid of youngsters. Any kind of hyped information related with gambling isn't allowed. Also, we have to monitor a lot our so-called VIP players. So all that process which is not intact with regulations and licensing, it's basically anarchy. And we are not allowed to have that. And what you mentioned regarding games tokenization and so on, once again, it is for early adopters, because generally I can describe you how recreational player, for example, from, I don't know, from Germany or UK looks like. He's the most valuable player. Mostly they are in 50s. In summer they go to Vegas, to play, to go to basically LAN casino to spin slots, and they search actually for the same mechanics online because they are familiar with it, they have trust in it. And when we speak about new games, we have trust in such providers as NetEnt, Microgaming, Nix, Idrazil. The bigger brand is, the better. All the small providers, they struggle to get into actual online casinos, despite the fact that they can do, really great game mechanics. They can be extremely cartoonish. They can have best animations and so on, but we don't want them. And the only thing why we don't want them, we accept them via, aggregators and so on. And the first thing which we ask is, where is your license? In which markets are you licensed? And when we speak about, new, extremely flashy and very nicely animated and designed games, here we face a lack of trust because still.
I think what Dimitri was trying to say, not a younger audience.
Sure.
I think you were just at a new audience, right?
Yes.
I think that was just semantics.
Exactly.
But one of the things that I struggle with is this isn't gaming, right? This is gambling.
Yes.
Right. So gaming seems to be this word that's used to describe gambling almost as a shell or a skin in a game or something like that. The skin of gambling is gaming. Shit, that's quite good. I might remember that. So I think it needs to be a bit more transparent. The gaming industry. I think a lot of people think, oh, games. Fortnite, World of Warcraft, COD, as my son calls it, Call of Duty. I think there needs to be some form of education about what you're actually doing. Am I gambling here or am I recreational gaming? I agree totally with what you say.
Cool. Well, I think I'm going to have to stop it there, and I don't feel like we've barely scratched the surface of what this conversation was capable of. But guys, I'd like to thank you. You're all fantastic, and I'd love to chat to you again soon.
Thank you for your moderation.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Great job. Great job. Bravo.
Hi everyone. So we're just waiting for some more guests and speakers to arrive. But coming up, we've got an excellent talk about the viral blockchain game CryptoKitties. Now, for those of you who may not have heard of CryptoKitties, it blew up around 1 year ago, and it's really paved the way for a lot of other decentralized applications. And following that, we have a few more talks, and we'll probably be going for another 2 more hours. However, think that's more or less it. But yeah, so we'll keep you updated with everything that's going on and get back to you shortly.
CryptoKitties, the viral blockchain game. The Ethereum network has brought colossal potential to a nuanced video gaming ecosystem. At the same time, network and monetization obstacles remain a sticking point to overcome. John Robbery, DGaming Media. Jonathan Galia, Blockchain Advisory. Alexander Pfeiffer, Danube University Krems.
Cool, so as I just mentioned, we're going to be looking at the viral blockchain game CryptoKitties. And we've got two great guests with us today. Alex, if you want to start just by introducing yourself and telling everyone a little bit about your expertise.
Sure. My name is Alex Pfeiffer. I'm heading the Center for Applied Game Studies at Donau University. We were one of the first academic centers basically introducing a program about game studies almost 14 years ago. Regarding blockchain technology, we started in the year 2013 to research about the bad side of blockchain. Basically, it was crypto forensics. So we tried to discover sales from items in World of Warcraft and how money laundering is done from China to the UK. That was my first paper about this topic. Regarding crypto collectibles, we were, of course, following the hype about CryptoKitties exactly a year ago. But we started in the year 2016 to develop concepts for how to run esports games within a decentralized network. And, of course, some other aspects like how to utilize a blockchain for gamification, etc.
Cool. And Jonathan?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan, a lawyer by profession, and I've been involved in this space for the past 5 years. I'm also a developer in the C language, currently studying Solidity as well. I wrote a doctorate of law thesis on Bitcoin money laundering back in 2015. And I also started the first meetups here in Malta dedicated to blockchain cryptocurrencies. And I also co-founded BitMalta, which is the first non-profit association dedicated to the advocacy of blockchain cryptocurrencies. Currently, I'm the managing director of Blockchain Advisory, which, as the name aptly implies, we provide advisory services from a technical and legal perspectives to blockchain-based projects. And in fact, currently we're working with quite some high-profile projects in the space. A couple of which are, of course, involved in the gaming industry.
Thank you. So one of the main things that I want to look at today is why did CryptoKitties blow up in the way it did? Or am I perhaps underestimating the power of cats?
Yes, I'm quite sure about that. Everyone loves cats, and we know our social media feeds are flooded with cat pictures. And they did a really nice approach with these scribbled cats. But of course, they were the first ones basically releasing a crypto collectibles game. They showed that digital items on blockchain can create value. They created the system of the DNA so that you can be assured it's a unique cat that you breed. But I think most important is that they did not go for a token themselves. They are just utilizing the Ethereum network, keeping fees in Ethereum, so everyone that holds Ethereum can actually participate. And I think that was the main thing they achieved, not to go for their own token, but just using the main blockchain as it is to go for their game.
Why CryptoKitties over something else? What was it?
Well, I mean, I think CryptoKitties is basically a case of history repeating itself. Because back in 2014, we had Dogecoin, which, again, came out into the limelight. And again, it's all sprung off from the Doge meme, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And back then, I mean, again, Dogecoin had no sort of real intrinsic value as such, but it was used widely on the Bitcoin Talk fora as a means of tipping. So again, anyone leaves a helpful post and so on, you tip them with Dogecoin. I received some tips myself, sold them off way too early, because then Dogecoin, of course, exploded off the charts. And I think that, again, I agree with the fact that whenever people think that there's something which, again, can connect them to other people, they see some use in it, some form of value, and that's sort of what, again, leads them to, again, go into that whole craze, that whole fad. And the same thing happened with CryptoKitties as well. As such, we're talking about collectibles, and human beings of their own nature love collectibles. So the very fact that you have a non-fungible virtual asset, let's call it that, which again allows trading of such a virtual asset with one another, even mating and creating new assets, following a certain process, I think that as such has quite a bit of charm, both to investors and to users alike. Let's keep in mind that, again, we're seeing too many protocols springing up and not enough applications. And I think CryptoKitties was one of the, let's say, not so perfect examples of how applications can actually help blockchain technology go out there to the mainstream public.
And how important do you both feel it's been for new dApps on the scene that have followed in the steps of CryptoKitties? Did they kind of open the doors for the development of this industry?
So I think on the one hand, yes, it showed to a lot of people the possibilities that you can do. But on the other hand, it was shocking for many people because it showed let's say that everything is still at its very infancy, that the network itself cannot even handle the transaction of the kitties. So when you're a company or a government spending hundreds of thousands of euros to develop your application, and then a simple game like CryptoKitties is congesting a whole blockchain, like the traffic in Malta in the morning, that was quite a huge learning for everyone. And it also opened the eyes for a lot of people that they have to look on other blockchain as a service systems to utilize for their applications, and that still a lot of work has to be done to actually create this world computer, what was the basic promise of Ethereum at the very beginning.
Jonathan, I noticed you nodding your head enthusiastic.
Yeah, the thing is that, again, it brought out to light the flaws of open permissionless protocols, which again utilize fees for each and every transaction and have a certain limit with regards to the throughput of transactions. And out of all applications that were being proposed for Ethereum, the one which effectively brought it down to its knees was the CryptoKitties application. Shortly after, we saw some of the major ICOs in 2017 also congesting the Ethereum network as well. So I think that, first of all, it showed, of course, the power of dApps. Secondly, it also brought to light some of the shortcomings of Ethereum, which I think also led to the development of the so-called third-generation protocols, which is, again, generally used term, which address certain concerns, such as, again, transactions per second, and all these fancy terms we see being bandied around whenever ICOs are being marketed. But I think, again, it was also a slap in the face, showing that, listen, the technology itself is still very much immature. We should treat it with caution. It has huge potential, but let's take things at a bit of a slower pace.
Cool. So do you have any idea what the solution is to overcoming them problems that have been discovered on Ethereum?
If I may, I think we're seeing a bit more of a, let's say, widespread use of state channels on the Ethereum network. Again, not each and every transaction needs to be accessed in real time across all of the network and confirmed by all of the network at once. You can use state channels in order, again, to offload some of the congestion on the network itself. And we're seeing this being used also in decentralized games utilizing the Ethereum network as well, whereby, again, for certain non-important events, state channels are used, and then for the main events, and the game or whatever it might be, that is when, again, the state of the smart contract is changed and a transaction is logged. So at least that was one lesson which was learned and is, again, being used by developers when, again, making use of the Ethereum network.
I think we learned two lessons. One, within the Ethereum community of developers and fanboys. So I have to say that I always compare, as I'm also a sociologist, I compare those blockchain-based networks like soccer clubs. So one is a big fan of Juventus, the next one is a big fan of Milan, and then the Juventus people fight the Milan people, and vice versa. As a scientist, I have to be very open-minded and try to test everything on the market. So for Ethereum, as you all know, we have this big fight at the moment due to the change to proof of stake and the plasma network, basically fighting the core developers with all those people that invested a lot of money for mining equipment, stealing it from us gamers at the end of the day. On the other hand, all those smaller communities, and maybe we speak here about NXT and all the other networks that derived from NXT, like Waves, NIM, and other, learned that they have this little chance, basically, to, if they continue their good work, and if they offer some other solutions to compete with this big thing, Ethereum, and maybe they learn from the history regarding Yahoo and Google, so that there is a market for more than one world computer system. And I think at the end of the day, this was good, so it opened the eyes again for government, for companies to learn more, not to be just focused on one thing. And so at the end of the day, we have to say thank you, CryptoKitties.
So looking at CryptoKitties from the game aspect, I know something, Alex, you're really passionate about is like the transmedia aspect of a collectible item. So could you talk to us a little bit more about why you're so excited about that?
Of course, as Jonathan already said, collecting things is in our human DNA from the very beginning of us being humans, so to say. So a lot of people see just collecting things as a game itself. And CryptoKitties was the first and best example to show that on blockchain. So, however, of course, there can be done more with this system. I'd like to speak about two things, if I may. Porn was already mentioned in an earlier panel. I was a bit afraid because it's Malta and speaking about porn. But there's, regarding transmedia storytelling and decentralized possibilities, there's, as you know, this company called SpankChain, and they created CryptoTitties. And this actually enables porn stars, or actresses, as we could call them in a nice way, to have a collectible game about their upper part of the body in transmedia storytelling combination with their Twitter feed, with their Facebook, etc. And real fans of those actresses can purchase a unique card to show that they're fans of this particular actress. The other thing is, and I'd like to give here a shout out to Cryptic Legends. As the Maltese here in the audience will be aware that MITA, the Malta Information Technology Agency, runs an accelerator program called You Started, and every half a year it is dedicated to another technology, and this time it was blockchain. And we had 176 applicants, 7 made it into the program, and 1 was Cryptic Legends. What they're going to do, and everything I've seen so far is decent and really, really nicely done, is that they on the one hand create their own crypto collectibles game, but it's more, it's not just pictures, it's pictures combined with sets of items this player has, so to say, and so that the players can fight against each other. But it goes 1 or even 2 steps further. On the one hand, they can use the cards to be implemented in a whole set of other games they create. And on the other hand, if the game is successful, let's say 2022, it could be sold as a franchise to other games. So imagine you have a Cryptic Legends character, and there's a corporation. It's just something I make up now, so please don't write on Twitter. There's a cooperation between those companies, Riot Games, and if you have the card of a Cryptic Legends character, it is a skin within League of Legends. So what I truly love is this transmedia and cross-media aspect of crypto collectibles, creating new game mechanics and creating this connection within other game genres and even other franchise systems. So that's what I'm looking for, but we still need some years to go until this finally happens. Jonathan.
I think as a potential concluding comment from my end, there have been certain people scoffing at the fact that, again, out of all things which conjures the Ethereum network, as I mentioned first, it had to be a game about kitties, essentially, right? But I think we need to keep in mind that, again, what led certain adults pursuing certain professions, be it, again, an engineer, astronaut, whatever it was, every human being started off as a child, essentially. And they all started off with playing with toys and around, and then again, developing further their skills until, again, they arrived to a certain profession. We have to keep in mind that blockchain technology is still very much in its infancy. It's still very much a baby, let's call it that. And we have to allow it to mature further, and in order to see what it's capable of, it might just be the case we need to start off with games, with playthings, essentially, which will then, of course, lead us on to further use cases that, again, will have real-world use as we know them today. So don't ever take any particular use case as being childish or not appropriate or immoral or anything of the sort. I think we need to take each and every experience related to blockchain technology as a learning curve. And again, we're all in the same boat, so to speak. We're all seeing the technology develop further together, and we all can give, let's say, a helping hand in allowing blockchain technology to reach mainstream adoption.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm most excited about, the ability for items to be able to move between different worlds. That just opens up a whole range of opportunities. Is that something you're researching a lot into at the moment?
Yeah, so on the one hand, we try to design a way for esports and blockchain. It's a game that was really famous in Austria. It's a skiing game, actually. And we are trying to develop an early stage prototype that the community itself can run the game, can basically host the executable file so that the fans of the old game can download it and run it. But also for the esports aspects, that the game is rerun by participants of this decentralized network. So basically rerun means we track the keystrokes. So because it's then about prices, everything is fine and uncheatable. The other two big aspects are, of course, in-game currencies. So basically, when you think about, and again, I just make it up as a good example, things like Clash of Clans, where you have in-game currency, you purchase your jewels, and then there's Clash Royale, the other game, and how, basically, what would be possible that you, on the one hand, can use the jewels within both games at the same time, and because it's blockchain, you can move them vice versa. But on the other hand, how can you create a peer-to-peer market that is not actually a real peer-to-peer market on a cryptocurrency exchange, but still run by the centralized authority, the owner of the game, the provider of the game. And the third thing is basically blockchain technology and how you can redeem your points, how you can get your badges, achievements, etc., and create this economy that you get a real-life prize with the points that you received. And as everything is counted on the particular blockchain you're using, it's very easy to set up those ecosystems.
Yeah, I think ultimately the name of the game of blockchain technology is decentralization, and again, disintermediation. And I've personally seen a few projects, and also been involved in a couple, whereby, again, it's all about giving certain power back to the users or to the players. So essentially, there was one particular project where, again, the house would be funded by the players themselves, not by a central authority or the operator itself. There was one other project whereby the players would be able to create their own games and choose which games are actually, again, deployed on the casino itself. So again, we're seeing a shift away from central decision makers to the actual users themselves, making certain decisions and running things themselves. Ultimately, I think the best ones suited to see what they actually want are the users themselves. So this, of course, is an advantage point to creators, to suppliers, who, of course, have to make a bit of a compromise by letting go a bit of their control in return, of course, for free research, so to speak, and again, better game enjoyment for the users themselves. So again, that's, I think, a generic theme we're seeing in blockchain technology when applied to the gaming industry.
Cool. So I know with CryptoKitties, there was a lot of speculation that people were only involved to try and make fast money. Is that something we have to be careful of when we allow the trading of in-game assets, that people are just trading them just to make money rather than actually to use their value in the game?
I think on the one hand, the best thing would be that those items are not traded on an external exchange. We have this example from the game, it's called Beyond the Void, and it was the first blockchain-based game that made it on Steam to be purchased there. And if you look on the graphic of, so basically you had to buy the token on the outside exchange to use it in the game to buy your laser cannon for your ship. So on one day, the laser cannon cost €1, and now the same laser cannon 1 year later cost maybe 1/1000th of a cent. And this is a game within the game, so it's a speculation game for getting the best price to equip your spaceship. On the other hand, it's 100% ruining all kind of game mechanics. So there's not even pay to win, it's pay to win if you're a good speculator. Now I think the tokens of that game are traded in the hundreds of dollars per day. When there was the big hype, it was in the hundreds of thousands. So basically their idea of putting the items on blockchain crashed their game, their idea, and their company. But still, they were first mover, and they were a really good example how you should not do it. And I'm sorry for the guys of Beyond the Void. I hope your next game will be a big success, and you will make a lot of money.
But I think it also relates as well to the underlying mechanics of the project itself as well. So, for example, in the case of collectibles, in my own opinion, collectibles are ripe for speculation. Because, of course, if there's something which is rare or was part of the first issuance and so on, automatically in the people's minds, that carries greater value than something that's being mass-produced or produced at a later stage, for example. So in the case of CryptoKitties, the Genesis kitten, I think, was sold for over $100,000 US dollars, simply because, again, it was the first CryptoKitty to be produced. Whereas other projects, also in the gaming sphere, which structure their token in such a way as to make it clear that it's going to be used in the platform itself, and again, doesn't offer any particular advantage just by holding it, of course, again, the speculative nature, I think, would mostly be minimized. And if, of course, the creator of certain projects want to give certain speculative value to a particular token, while at the same time also retaining widespread use, then of course they can explore the option of issuing a dual token for their project. One of them with a clear speculative use, which might render it as a security, the other one potentially being a stablecoin, clearly aimed towards, again, mainstream use.
Cool. So we've just got a few minutes left. I just want to get your opinion on what you can see happening in the blockchain gaming market over the next year. Like, how do you see this developing further?
So I'm quite sure that every huge player in the market, and even the smaller ones, are utilizing blockchain in the game economy. But I'm also sure they have to do it that way that the users maybe don't even know it's blockchain-based. Yep. Just those that click on advanced and I want to learn more how my game is secure. Just one very small thing. For the users, we have to take care of fraudulent behavior of companies, for example, copying CryptoKitties with another name, offering crypto collectibles that are copyrighted and so on and so forth. So please, if you invest in those things, take a lot of care.
Blockchain technology, unlike what happened last year where there was a lot of hype, cannot be used for every single thing on this planet. However, in the cases where blockchain technology can be used, it can be extremely, extremely powerful. And I think the gaming industry is one of those spheres where blockchain technology can be, again, extremely useful. So again, certain things like the fact that, again, the issuance of non-fungible tokens with frictionless transactions whenever, again, such collectibles are transferred. In the case of the gaming industry in general, fair and transparent RNG, and so on and so forth. So all of these things will help the gaming industry, I think, move on to the next evolutionary step. Again, the gambling industry is one of the oldest industries in the world, actually the second oldest one. We all know what the first one is. And I think it's high time for the gaming industry itself to, again, go to the next level. Blockchain technology will be the technology enabling it to move on to the next stage.
Excellent. Well, thanks for talking to me today. Can I get a round of applause for Alex and Jonathan, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice one, Jonathan.
Gambling on the blockchain. Possibilities for game developers. No games can exist without the behind-the-scenes work of game developers. This talk seeks to address the interplay between iGaming and DLT. Dmitry Belyanin, DAO Casino.
All right, hello everyone one more time. And my name is Dmitry. And over the next 20 minutes, I will be discussing the new game mechanics and the new gambling possibilities for game developers. But let's just start with a short introduction. So I've been working in the gaming space for quite a while. And I'm working in the marketing sphere for 11 years right now, and for the last 5 years in the head roles. Currently, I'm a chief marketing officer at the DAO Casino. So what's DAO Casino? As I already said, we're building the new blockchain gambling 3.0 industry regulated by technology. And we're building our own solution to make every single casino work on the blockchain and make it easy as possible. So right now, we delivered SDK for game developers to make every single company who wants to start building games on the blockchain to build their own blockchain games. A couple of weeks ago, we released our research paper about our own technology, which is called Game Channels. And it's, I'd say, it's industry-changing research paper, which was reviewed by MIT professor. And it says that our own state channels with built-in PRNG, which is called game channels, they're completely fair, transparent, they're cutting all of the costs, and basically it's built for the gambling industry, but you can use it like anywhere else. So, and recently we launched the Sandbox project, where 15 teams, they're working on creating the new games on our protocol, DAO Casino protocol. And then we'll be publishing all of these games in our marketplace. All right, so enough of introductions. Let's just move to our topic. So as you know, gaming was always a technology mover. So like for a Sony company, when they had all of these new TVs, they created a Sony PlayStation just to sell all of these TVs. And right now, it's crazy. You have all of these incredible technologies like VR, you have new tablets, you have small phones with incredible performance. It's incredible. You can play a slot game with 3D graphics on your plane, flying somewhere over the ocean. Like 15 years ago or 20 years ago, who could imagine that? Not me, for example. So current gamers and gamblers, they're spending a lot of money. So all of these industries, they are growing, the numbers are growing, and right now they're paying for some in-game content, they're buying some stuff, they're trying to get some advantages in front of other players by buying some game features. They're buying loot boxes inside of the games just to gamble inside of the game. And this is crazy, I've seen some numbers of people buying these loot boxes with like small chances of them getting anything. They're literally gambling inside of the traditional games. And of course, it's all about gambling, and they're playing like traditional gambling games. But you know what? We're all fighting not against their money, we're trying to get their time. And 15 minutes is the average time spent by an average person on gaming and gambling per day. And you know what? This is crazy. We're trying to compete to each other, we're trying to compete to other casinos, we're trying to compete with betting companies, but we're competing with everything, basically. We're competing with the whole entertainment industry. We're competing to play football with friends, with traveling, watching cinema. We're even competing to time spent with families. This is crazy, 15 minutes left for gaming per day. This is not enough for us. And there are a lot of crazy games like Dota, Hearthstone, Fortnite is breaking all of the records all over the world. This is crazy. They're getting so many money, basically all the records are broken right now. And all of these games, most of them, of course, they are free to play. You don't need to buy anything just to start playing. You just start playing, and then they deliver you in-game content to let you, get something new, to get new advantages. And nowadays players, they see this huge stadium of esports gamers playing with each other, and they see our past, they see some traditional gambling games, and you know what? They're boring. These games, they were played by our grandfathers. I'm an ex-poker player myself. I love playing poker, don't get me wrong. And when you have all of these VRs, you have these shooting games, you have all of this gambling built in these games, current games, I mean slot games, poker games, they're boring, There is an example of a game, I think it was mentioned before, decentralized game. So basically this game is built in the blockchain, and every company, person, you can buy a piece of land within game, and you can basically do everything you want. So for example, you can build your own, I don't know, football field. You can build a casino. There is an area, I believe, which is called Decentra Vegas or something like this, and you can build your own casino games. And players can put their VR, they can go inside of the casino, they can play slots in there. This is just crazy, I'm talking about all of these mechanics, and let's just talk about them in more details. So gamers, why is they like the earliest adopter of this whole new blockchain technology? Because they know what these in-game items are all about. They're using in-game crypto, in-game items. They're using some additional, not money, some currency, in-game currency. And this is why they adopt this crypto. Because you can buy items, you can open loot boxes, you can get some of the items, and all of these items will be stored in the blockchain. If you're a game developer, you can develop multiple games. For example, you have some slot games with items which can be transferred between slots. This is crazy. We're all fighting to get a new player. But just imagine, we get one player in our, on our platform with multiple games, and he don't even want to go to another casino or somewhere else because he's got his items here, he knows all of the games, and it's a nice place to stay. So the new mechanic I'm talking about is a marketplace mechanic. Players can basically buy some loot boxes, trade some items, the items are stored on the blockchain, you will never loot them. So a couple of mentions. The Hearthstone game, which is built by Blizzard, they're using this, in-game buying items mechanics. Basically, you can buy a pack of cards, and then all of the cards, they're stored on your account. If you don't like your card, you can just destroy it, and you'll get dust. Basically, dust is the same mechanic of token I'm talking about. You can take your dust and build new cards. Imagine you have all of these items in the blockchain with a token just behind of these items, and you're trying to build the new items. I think this is interesting. The another game I'm talking about is Dota, built by Valve. They have mechanics. They have a book inside of the game, which is called Compendium. Every year, they're running the international championship. And you know what? Each year, the numbers are growing. And they're creating the biggest prize fund in the whole esports industry. Every single year, they're growing the numbers. You can see them on the screen. Like this year, they had 24 million prize funds. This is just incredible. And this fund is, they're getting money from all of these Compendium book sales. Basically, these are players' money, and they are giving this money back. But of course, they're leaving something to them. So, one of the mechanics. And one more thing, of course, the Star Wars Battlefront game made by EE. I'm not sure if you know, but there was a story of them introduced this loot boxes mechanic inside of their new game, and the whole internet just destroyed them. Because you paid for game, then you need to open the loot boxes to get items, to progress, but they've been all just too greedy. They decreased all of the chances of getting items, and the whole internet is just destroyed them. There was a topic on Reddit forum where it was like the topic with the most minuses in the whole over the world. This is just crazy. And in Belgium, the Belgian Gambling Commission, they said basically it is a gambling. One person buying something, opening a loot box, and he can get nothing. This is gambling, guys, you know what? So this is why this game with this loot box mechanics is, it was forbidden. was forbidden in Belgium, in a couple of other countries. So they needed to change this whole thing, to change the game mechanics. Another mention of a new game mechanics, but which are still existing, like social casino games, basically in-game transactions. All of the users, like free-to-play users, traditional game users, they all know that if they put money inside of the game, they get some sort of a benefits. You can increase your game progress, you can get more experience, you can get something else. But in this case, all of your experience, you have some equivalent in tokens, which means that you reached, I don't know, level 1000, and you get some sort of a small equivalent in tokens. So if you stop playing this game and switch to another game and do something else, you can get your tokens in another game. And this is crazy because we can give them additional value. I'm not talking about, creating these mechanics like the biggest mechanic of all time, but we need to give them a small value. Of course, we'll be still getting money, but we need to share them just to give it a small amount. I hope gamers are not listening right now. So as an example, we have a Slotomania free-to-play game. And I think it's one of the biggest free-to-play games on the mobile stores, in Facebook. And they're using this model. It's a free-to-play game. You don't even need to buy anything to start playing. You just start playing. And then, when you're engaged, you're just buying something else. And my favorite thing, this is an example of Poker Stars. They have created the new kind of poker. It's called Power Up. And they're using additional mechanics, like they created skills, some power-ups. It's called esportizing mechanics, right? And basically, it is still the same game, but you add additional features, like you can cast a spell, you can destroy opponent's cards, you can, I don't know, just skip, turn forward, something else. But this is a way of traditional game with added value. And this is something new, this is something interesting, because all of these traditional games, I said, they're boring, because, younger people, we were 10 years before, we've seen all of these games, and we grow, we see all these new technologies. It doesn't mean we don't have any money. I could easily put money inside with the Hearthstone games, actually I did. So we're growing, and we need something new. This is what I'm talking about. So, how can we use this in gambling, right? Some of you people or some of the other companies, you're thinking that, oh man, this blockchain technology is the future. Why do I need to invest in something which is not working right now? Of course, it's working right now, but in the future, you'll get even more opportunities, right? Like becoming an early adopter, becoming a company who are trying to make a foundation for them just to make sure that in the future you will be getting more and more money. This is the right way to start. It's just the beginning. This whole, decentralized gaming industry, it's not even 1 year old. So we're just in the start of something new. All right, so I know it is a B2B conference, a lot of business guys here, but let's just relax for a while and start to create a new game together. So how many of you guys are playing slots in here? Are you sure, guys, is this a gambling conference? I don't see many hands. All right. So let's pick a slot. This slot was built by us, and it's used some cryptocurrency topic. You have ICOs, you have mining, you have some bonuses. But you know what? What happens next? Boom, we add some special abilities. We add some, I don't know, mining ability, we add some skip coin ability, we add, I don't know, price increase ability, which are helping you to increase players' time in game, something new. You can just, I don't know, skip a line, just drop something new. But this is something new, And what's then? We add a power bar just to power up all of these abilities. You just making all of the spins, the bar is filling up, and you will be able to cast all of the spells. So who would play this kind of slot? All right, I see some new hands. This is the right way to start with. All right, let's move next. So what about we adding some loot boxes, right? Basically, you're still playing game, money game, slot game, and you're adding some additional value of them buying some items. What do you can ask, what do I get out of this slot box? You can get some items, I don't know, some wizard hat, or in this case, like mining machine that will increase your power bar ability to get, to feel faster, something which can be traded inside of the another slot, something new. Who knows, maybe this thing will work. But if you add marketplace to sell all the items, like you have this, head, I was talking about mining machine, you can trade it and get additional value. You're losing money, but you're getting something back. Like in online poker, you have a rake back, you have bonuses. Basically, this is the same mechanic. You're trying to give them some additional value. They're still losing money, but you give them some money back. You can sell all those items. And on top of that, boom, just let's add a multiplayer. You have a couple of players playing against each other. You have, I don't know, tournament bar, something else, and you're making them to spend more money inside of the game to get on top of each other. You know, competition. Who would play that? All right, some more hands. Okay, we're in a good way. So what's next? In-game progress. Just to finish this all, you can add the progress. You can add some goal to the players, so they will play these games, see some goal, and they think, wow, I have a goal. I want to play more to reach this goal. And then when I accomplish, I will sell all of my items and go to another game to accomplish one more goal. Boom, they're playing your game. And you not have to invite another players. You have one engaged player playing all of your games on your gaming platform with all of these crazy mechanics. They don't want to go anywhere. They're loyal players. Wow, can you imagine this thing? So, I think that some of you thinking, oh, okay, you're talking about all of these game mechanics. How can I get involved? Just a second, please. Sorry. All right, so how can I get involved? I tell you how. We are at DAO Casino. We are building an SDK for game developers. Basically, we're creating a set of tools for game developer companies. Later on, we'll have some tools for affiliates. But we're creating a set of tools to make companies who doesn't know what blockchain is, who doesn't have like special team, some special developers, some special knowledge, to give them the ability to create their own blockchain games, to publish these games in the marketplace, to get users from affiliates, from like everywhere. We have this ability. We have SDK for game developers. We have development portal where you will see like SDK, some tools, some game templates, open source examples. Basically, everything we have is open source. So if you want to create something, you just can go download and start right now. So we develop a couple of game templates like slots, baccarat games, dice games. You can just pick a template, put your skin on top of this game template, and your game will basically start going. Like for example, we had a case. Some guy who solved the blockchain like for the first time. He just put his like some sort of a flash game on the blockchain like in 2 days. Basically, this is it. And like previously, I was talking about our research paper, right? So our research paper was reviewed by MIT guy. We have this inbuilt PRNG. And right now, we're creating a certification process of getting this thing like certified. So we'll be able to give this certification to all of the game developers who are trying to develop games using our technology. So you will be sure that it's not like some background stuff. It's official. It will get a license. It will get a certification. Basically, it's like official thing. And you may ask, OK, I develop game. What do I do next? So next, you can upload your game to our platform. You'll just wait a couple until our guys will make some approvals, just take a look at your game, what's next, how do you use our PRNG, is this fair, is this not fair, okay. And then we'll approve your game, it comes to the marketplace, some casino operators grabs your game, get in their casino, then affiliates start to get in traffic, you know the process, so this is nothing new for you. And the biggest thing we have is smart contracts. I'm not sure if you guys know what smart contracts is, but I will just briefly description. Smart contract system is allowing everyone to get their payments instantly. So in our case, players start playing game. He's joining the game channel. He's playing some games, some sessions, some spins. And then right after the channel is closed, everyone is getting their money instantly. For affiliates, it's just a win-win situation. When you're getting money just instantly without shaving, without frozen deposits, without any additional things, it's a life changer for these kind of guys. So if you want to know more, we have a stand there. We have some technical guys. They will describe you more than me because I'm a marketing person, of course. So basically, this is it. I would like to thank you guys for listening to me. And let's create a better gambling world, Gambling 3.0 game, and let's change the game together. Thank you.
What lies behind a firewall? The average time to respond to a firewall hack is 35 days. How can security professionals work to make real-time protection a reality? Jean-Michel Atsopardi, Kralanx.
Testing, testing. Hi guys, and good afternoon. My name is Jean-Michel. I'm the CEO of Kralanx Cybersecurity. We are a distribution company based in Malta and focused on delivering hardcore cybersecurity products and services. So for those of you who don't know me, I've been in the IT industry now for 9 years. I've worked with IBM, I've worked under SAP, and I've spent some time in the cybersecurity space as well. So whenever I meet a customer, the first question I always ask is, what do you guys do about security? And every now and again, a customer replies, and they say, we have a firewall. And I look back, and I say, OK. And I proceed to show them this photo of myself. So this is a photo I took on the Great Wall of China, and I posted it to Facebook from behind the Great Firewall of China, which is arguably the world's most powerful and complex firewall. For those of you who aren't aware, all of the internet that goes into China passes through a single central trunk and is vetted by the state. And as a result, Facebook is banned, Google is banned, and WhatsApp is banned, etc., etc. For the majority of our clients, however, they understand exactly what lies beyond the firewall. They understand that a firewall is just a small part of the space as a whole. For reference's sake, a firewall fits under the protection sphere. And as you can see, it is just a drop in the ocean. So with such a vast and complex space, naturally come a few problems. So first of which being the size of IT security teams. So research shows that on average, for every 100 employees within the IT department of a company, only 3 of those would be responsible for security. That's a lot of work for just a few amount of people. So let's take a step back and let's look at some interesting stats. 58% of malware attacks are aimed specifically at small businesses. So show of hands here. How many of you guys have received an email at some point in your lives that goes a little bit like this? Hi, I'm a Nigerian prince, and I've got lots of gold I'd like to sell, and I want you to be a part of it. OK, pretty much everyone. So that's more of a generic kind of attack. A more focused attack would be a hacker would go onto the website of a company. They would see that you have a vacancy. They would apply as a prospective candidate, send over a covering letter, send over a CV. Said HR person would download that CV. Nothing would happen. They'd go on with their lives and forget about everything. And they've just been breached, and they haven't got the foggiest idea. Further to that, almost 80% of IT professionals say that they do not have a plan in place for when a breach does occur. So this naturally leads to a high dwell time. But what is dwell time, and why does it matter? So dwell time is the amount of time it takes to respond to a hack. Earlier, it's set up there that the average time was 35 days. Based on my research, the amount of time it takes to respond to a hack from point of inception to time of response is actually 191 days. So it takes 191 days to respond to a hack. Let that sink in. So luckily, all is not lost. Research also shows if we can reduce this time down to just a single day, then we can reduce the amount of damage done to a company and thus the cost borne by a company from a hack by up to 96%. But how do we do this in such a complex world with such little human resources available? We look at trends and we look at artificial intelligence to try and bridge that gap. We see AI prevalent more than ever in upcoming tech, in SIEMs, in anti-malware, and in next-generation firewalls. No pun intended. Now, AI is great at parsing large amounts of data and dealing with situations which it's seen before, no matter how vast those situations may be. So if we look at some real-life examples, we see IBM Watson has reigned supreme for some time in a game show called Jeopardy, which is a Q&A game show. Elon Musk's OpenAI has decimated the top 1,000 ranked players in Dota 2. If we look at chess, AI first beat the world's chess grandmaster back in 1998. Between 1998 and 2005, there was a back and forth between man and machine. And between 2005 and present date, the reigning champion has always been artificial intelligence. And the most recent champion, AlphaZero, trained itself to beat its predecessor in just 4 hours. And if we look at something a little bit closer to home, Libratus was created to beat some of the world's best poker players. And it did so in no-limit heads-up Texas Hold'em, in which the amount of possible card combinations are greater than the amount of atoms present in the universe. That's a lot of combinations. Cybersecurity is a little bit different, though. As vast as it is not fixed and consistently changing. So in 2017, there were 7.5 million new pieces of malware released onto the world. That's a new piece of malware once every 4.2 seconds. And that's just malware. Vulnerabilities are a whole different ballgame. And there were 20,000 new vulnerabilities last year alone. So AI alone lacks a little bit. And what do we do to reduce the dwell time in such a situation? So we use artificial intelligence to the best of its abilities by providing a service called MDR. An MDR uses AI, and it combines an SIEM for known threats, network threat analytics, application threat analytics, endpoint threat detection, user behavior analytics, and it collates all of that data, and it generates alerts for our clients. When those alerts are generated, we have a team of 1,000 cyber warriors who vet those alerts in real time. When those alerts are generated and vetted, one of two things will happen. As a customer, you will either receive a call within 15 minutes that a breach has occurred, and within 45 minutes of any hack, we will stop that for you by sending a rule to your firewall, WAF, IDS, or proxy in real time. So this symbiotic relationship of man and machine has resulted in a service that's currently being used by 700 enterprises, 43 of which are Fortune companies. It's resulted in false positives being a thing of the past, since every alert generated is vetted by a team of professional humans. It means that we deal with between 20 and 25 threats, breaches, every month, which means our AI gets smarter and our team gets more experience with every passing day. And it means that we reduce the dwell time from that average of 191 days down to just 45 minutes. Thank you for your time. Cheers.
Win the hearts of sports players with big data. Sportsbook leverages visual data, making for a monumental success story. It's time to break barriers and increase affiliate traction by setting a new standard for rich content creation. Alex Kornilov, Betagy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm CEO and founder of a company called Betagy. And for years, we work on the intersection of technology, sports, and data analytics. And having these experiences, we provide information and data to people on B2C sector. And also, we work with B2B companies, visualizing data and doing the analytics for different stakeholders. So in particular, what we do, we provide visualizations and analytics, and having these experiences, I can tell you, and I believe that sports betting is about to change, and sports data development will play a very significant role in this transformation. So let's take a look on step back and take a look on the sports and data development. So if we talk about sports, you have that. Every sport is always about data. If you watch a game, you see that game doesn't make sense without numbers. So you're always interested in a score. You're always interested in who scored. You're always interested in underlying analytics. And if you take a look on the historical development of the data capacity in the world, you see that with the beginning of the digital age, it follows the exponential growth. And it will grow like this for another 100 years before it reaches a hockey stick. And what is important, that sport doesn't lag behind. In our feeds, we have around 600 data points for every single game. Multiply it by amount of minutes in a game, multiply it by amount of games and amount of leagues, and you have a real big data going on in the sport now. And why it is important? It is important in a way that now sports data becomes one of the most interesting content online. It's always fresh, it's always up to date, and it's always exciting. And to add to this, if betting companies take this as an initial starting point to engage customers into game, they have a wonderful content mix available for their usage and for marketing activities. First of all, it's sports data. Second of all, there are odd feeds, which are proprietary value of a betting company. And the last one is a social media impact. In such combination, each betting operator has a wonderful mix and blend of content which they can use to engage people further. Let's take a look how bookmakers, majority of them, advertise now. Instead of using the content mix, they create something like this because we've been in contact with betting operators for a long time. And when I recently asked them, can you send me the creatives which you have? They sent me something like that. And it has many problems, but let alone the typo in names, breach of copyright laws everywhere, and also the not exposed properly, like those kind of odds and all information. It looks pretty simple, and it doesn't go into the point which bookmaker want to make. And the next problem here is that majority of messages are free bets, bonuses, and some kind of value proposal which doesn't connect the person with the game he likes. And there are several other things which are bad in this kind of promotion. One of them, it's hard to stand out of competition because everyone offers this. Second, it attracting the wrong players, actually, because people who care about value and bonuses are not the ones who are excited about the game. So your margin goes down. And next, there is no affiliation with the game you like. So it goes to point number 2. It's wrong players. And last point, it's simply ugly in majority of cases. And how to handle this? In general, one of the biggest solutions and one of the biggest trends now in a sports betting is to move forward from providing a value offer to engage customers on a level and with a language they like. And to do this, you need to start creating content. And you start to need to compete with companies like ESPN, like Yahoo, like all sports portal on local and global basis. Because bookmakers own a piece of content which is unique and no one else have it. In combination with statistics, in combination with odd feeds, in combination of social media trends, you can create a wonderful mix and blend of, creatives. And having this in mind, for 2 years, we've been working on a product called Impact. And what it does exactly, it turns big data into a set of rich media content. It does it in one click, it is scalable, and it mainly produces pictures, banners, widgets, infographics, unique texts, and this is all done automatically. Our team has hundreds of templates already created with new add-in every day, and every week new animations, and so on. So in this case, when we have, from our side, designers, analytics, and animators doing this day over day, you don't have to do it. We just provide it to you. And how does it work? Mainly, we take all the possible data feeds available, starting from statistics, social media, our own analytics, which we do for years, and then we add your unique API with odds, and out of this, we are able to create all those rich media content, including the unique text and videos. And another thing which we tackle with this kind of product is for years we've been spammed by affiliate managers writing to us something like this. Because every week there is affiliate managers communicate with their affiliates in this kind of boring emails. Hey guys, can you please promote us, or can you do this and that? And in particular, what is worrying here is a plea in that if you're able to promote us, please let us know. And this is, in general, it's a very wrong message which you send, and it's a problem in the link between partners, between affiliate and affiliate manager. To solve that, we created a function called Affiliate Telegraph, where the affiliate manager can create instantly different kind of visualizations, animations, and all rich media, copies a link, and instead of writing those emails which no one reads, he just writes, hi guys, for you today we have a wonderful set of infographics prepared for El Clasico. One click and send. Affiliate logs in there, and he has a wonderful opportunity to share this in one click as well. So it speeds up the process, and affiliate manager can create customized infographics and media for every single group of affiliates in different countries. Of course, this is all scalable in a way that it has different languages, it has different odds feeds, it has all different odd formats, and so on. Another thing which we found very interesting is that now people move from social media to messengers. And the messengers are where people spend time at. And we finally found a way how to be there, how Sportsbook can promote his content in a nice blend there. And we created the bots for 4 platforms, Telegram, Messenger, Twitter, and Kik, in a way that now it becomes easy to talk to a bookmaker and ask, for example, what are the odds for Barcelona? Will Messi score? And so on and so forth. And in such case, the bot instantly connects to our system, generates nice visualization, sends it back to the user, provide a deep link, and provide list of actions where you can sign up for the particular team, you can get notification during the game, and instantly you become into the place where people are spending time and drop into conversations. And this is pretty amazing. Another thing is that we decided not to stop here and do only online. We took this wonderful rendering technology, which we have already with animations and with infographics, and we decided to take it offline too. So what we did, we finally brought innovation to the land-based betting shops, where instead of boring tables, you will see the relevant information on screens, which is updated on demand, depending on what's going on inside the betting shop and what's going on the pitch or on event. And to see all this, you can visit our booth here at SiGMA, and there we present how it looks and how it actually performs in the real world. So mainly, our impact product, the first one, is already available and is used by companies like Bivin in Russia, Intralot in Europe, Kicker in Germany, and many others globally. Our Excite product, which is visualizations for land-based screens, will be available for commercial use in February at ICE. But you can see already how it works and how does it change the landscape of promotion for sportsbook on our booth there. I'll be happy to show it to you. And in case of any questions, let me know. I'll be here around. And thank you very much for your attention. Yeah.
Google's dialogue flow. Mark Lesnick, Ticonderoga Ventures, Inc.
All right. Good seeing you guys here. It's good to be back to SiGMA. Thank you for attending and being here. I run StartCasino.com. I also run a consulting firm as well that basically implements Google's dialogue flow. So I'm going to show you a few things that are pretty important to you, especially webmasters and gaming operators, as for changes that are coming down the pike as far as how we're using the internet and how we're interacting. And if you don't adjust to these early, you're going to be penalizing Google in the long run. And so, to give you an example, what I'm talking about basically is voice interactivity. I mentioned this last year here at SiGMA, that this was going to be a problem. This was a real conundrum in my mind in 2017. I really was concerned about this. You're familiar with Siri, you're familiar with Windows 10, with Cortana, you're also familiar with Amazon's Alexa, that they have the ability for you to interact. In other words, you can search, you can talk to the device. Of course, we know that some of these devices are not perfect. Their speech recognition still has some kinks in it. But Google's, however, is quite good. Everybody that has a Droid and speaks to their Droid has seen as an improvement over the last year and a half, a massive improvement in the speech recognition. And so what I highly recommend is you get an app on the App Store called, on the Play Store called Google Now Launcher, and that takes over your phone. You just basically talk to your phone. And then what happens is you start going, okay, well, I don't even want to look at this anymore. I want to just, talk to it, let it talk back to me. And that's what it does. It's also known as Google Assistant. This is taking off. This is no joke. This is web search is becoming more and more. I wanted to give you an example here, but unfortunately the video wasn't embedded in the Excel. I apologize, you're not going to hear anything. But I was asking it how to concatenate in Excel, and it came back and it went to Tech on the Net, and it actually read from the site. It actually didn't read the whole site, just read what's called a web snippet, and gave basically the formula on how to concatenate in Excel. I want you to look at that page pretty closely because that was a search. That was a verbal search. And as I said, you'd hear the thing talking, but you're not hearing it now. What Google grabbed was what's called a web snippet, which is the text was identified as a web snippet, and Google took that and then spoke that back and provided that page back. The other thing that's important that you saw there, not only you saw, but you would also have heard one result. One, not 10, one. This is pretty concerning for a lot of you. I'll give you an example. You would do a long tail keyword search on Phil Ivey, Texas Hold'em. Many of you would go to, many of you are trying to compete for the top 10 ranking in Google. That's what most of you try and do. I call this dumb traffic. You're just trying to compete for these long tail keywords, okay? Trying to just get people to notice your site and then go to it. This is very common. This is what all you guys do. The problem when you've got one result and not 10 means that dumb traffic is dead. You want me to give you a better image of that? Well, I'll put a tombstone on the moon. How's that for dead? Okay? That's dead, how dead it is. There's a lot more tombstones that'll be on that moon given the scenario that I just showed you. There's something to think about. For example, when you saw that page, there was no AdWords. There was no AdWords. That means Google has to change their revenue model if they're going to do this. And they probably will. They have that capability. That's 95%, that's 95% of Google's revenue is AdWords. Again, this was also, what about comparison sites? What about private label sites or white label sites where it's copies of the same thing? They're dead too. Those are more tombstones that are going to be on the moon. So, as I said, this really perplexed me last year. I said, you know, Google's not in the business of destroying your business. They're not going to read from your website and not send you the traffic. Because that was what you saw. They read from a website, they didn't send the traffic there. And they said, that's not what they're going to do. They're not out to destroy you, and they're out to help the user and help the webmaster. So I said, okay, they're going to want to hand off the traffic to your site or your app at some point. But how are they going to do that? Well, if you remember when Google talked about mobile, your site had to be mobile friendly, and if it wasn't, if someone did a mobile search, they were going to de-rank you. Google was going to de-rank you. Well, it'll be the same thing. If your site does not have interactive audio, then they will de-rank you on an audio search. And that's the only way they're gonna have that. Now, how would you get this handoff from an audio search? And our team thinks it's gonna be along the lines of, okay, Google, talk to this website or talk to Start Casino. We made a special subdomain for that just to see if that might work, you know, where you're now talking to our website. You're interacting with our website through audio. No need to type, just talk. The problem with this is you don't have the AI. If Siri can't get it right, you don't have the speech recognition in the AI. If Siri can't get it right, you can't get it right. Well, there's the problem. There's the conundrum. That was again my problem. Google came out with they rebranded a product called Dialogflow in late 2017, which basically solves this problem. What it is, it's Google's speech recognition, it's Google's artificial intelligence, and it's Google's chatbot, all rolled into one. Get ready. It's free. They're giving it to you. They're giving it to you, okay? The APIs and the SDKs, free, yours, okay? How it works is pretty straightforward. What it does, hopefully this points, no, doesn't point, points, whatever, it doesn't point. All right, so what it does, the user speaks to the website or the app, then the API or the SDK then goes to Google Apps, sends the audio file over to Google's Dialogflow. They then interpret what was said, and then using, again, whatever it is you pre-programmed in advance, saying if a question like this is asked, then provide this response. It then goes back to your website through the API, and then or your app, and then provides the response. So to do this, you have to learn entirely new vocabulary. And the agent would be a Google bot. The utterance is what you're saying. In this case, it would be what is casino software licensing. That's the utterance. The intent is technically what you want, what the user is trying to get, what he wants. The keyword, the entity are keywords, which are more along the lines of what is the words being said in there, the data being said in there, being extracted to help the AI identify what's being said. And then the fulfillment is the output. So you were supposed to see a video here of an example, but again, it wasn't embedded. And what would happen is this is a web page we created, and all it is just basically a microphone. That's all we put there. You put the microphone, and we said, okay, what is casino software licensing? And then it does exactly what you saw. It sends the data off to Google. Google then sends it back and actually reads back an answer, which we already told it. If someone asks a question like this, give back an answer. There's also a chatbot that's included with this as well. Again, there's no video here, but we had the question there, what is software licensing? When you hit that, similar to the way you're familiar with chatbots, it would then provide an answer, and so it has that ability. It also has more than just simply text. You can also enter data in databases. You can add phone calls to this thing. You can have emails sent out, data collection, all sorts of things you can do with this that you didn't have before. But again, you're not typing, you're talking. There are two ways to implement it. You can basically use the JavaScript code and use an SDK or an API to put the SDK or API, or you can use what's called their web dashboard. They have a web dashboard that can run. Both basically do the same thing, but the forms, we found some things you can't really do from the dashboard that easy. That's their website. You just log into Google and then you just sign up for it. Like I said, it's free. It's basically a flow chart. Those of you familiar with how that works, for most of you who've done chatbots, that's how chatbots work. Here's the meat. So it's got AI. And so what you do is you type in the number of questions for the same thing. In other words, what is casino software licensing? How do I start an online casino? How do I start a casino online? And these are various ways to ask the same question to get the response. That starts their AI. After 2 months, it's pretty good, but you have to get this started. You have to give it some sort of idea of to where these questions are going to come from, how they're going to be formed. And that's where it goes. That's the real strength of this. That's where it starts. There are some issues with it. I'm not going to go through with it. I really don't have enough time. It's not simply a plug and play. It is work. You only get 60 seconds maximum audio time. There's some other issues I'm not going to go through. It is free, up to 15,000 requests a month, or 1,000 a day almost. I mean, most of you aren't even going to hit that. Those that are above that, it's fractions of a penny at the enterprise level per use. So this is not a lot of money. The big thing is this. That audio interactivity, those you've done with your phone, that is the future. There's no question about it. And you're seeing, as I said, Windows and Cortana has it. Okay? If you set this up now, you will have later gains in Google because you're going to be ahead of the game. It has some bugs. The web control panel is fantastic. It does need JavaScript to code. And this is the important thing. It has Google's AI and Google's team. That's great. And it's not a Google Plus project. This is not going to get shelved. Okay? This is the future. This is where it's going to go. So these are the important things for you to think about. Thank you very much.
Fusing blockchain and gaming in the cloud era. Gamers were the earliest adopters of cryptocurrencies. Blockchain and public cloud technologies offer new tools to manage interactions in the gaming industry. What are the challenges that lie ahead? Khaled El-Bedr, Microsoft.
Hi, everyone. My name is Khaled El-Bedri. I'm working for Microsoft as a technical sales lead, looking after open source solutions on Azure with focus on blockchain. So today we're going to talk about blockchain for gaming and what's the relationship with the cloud, why it makes sense to consider cloud for these type of solutions. I probably shouldn't ask this question. We are day 3, so I'm going to quickly define what's a blockchain. So blockchain is actually it's a distributed ledger that is forged by a consensus and that allows you to run smart contracts, which are programs that are embedded in the ledger and that can update the ledger. So this is a data store that is distributed, that is shared, and it's immutable, so everything we put there couldn't be manipulated. Why do we use blockchain in general? Like we started many discussions with blockchain in public sector, especially in finance, in different industries, and we identify 3 main drivers for blockchain projects. So customers are considering blockchain either to reduce cost, sometimes increase profit, mitigate risks about manipulating the data and promoting trust between different parties, or to transform, reimagine a process. In my opinion, this is the most important driver, like how to do things differently. So that's quite generic. Now, when we talk about blockchain and iGaming, what's the connection between both of them? Sometimes it looks like weird, okay? So we know how to use blockchain for finance or for remittance or for supply chain, or what's the relationship with gaming? So the key point that we need to remember about blockchain, so blockchain allows a new way of transferring assets. Okay, those assets could be, or preferably, are digital assets. And now when we think about gaming, we do have lots of those assets. So those assets could be items in the game. You can create your own item, for example. It could be based on someone else's item. Maybe you can reuse it in another game. It could be tokens or virtual coins. It could be land. You can own a land, a virtual land. It could be cards. And we can keep going. So there are so many items or digital assets that we could exchange through blockchain today. And in fact, when we look at the value or the drivers, it's not different from the 3 values I explained in the previous slide. So it's reimagining the process, it's like reducing the risk, and it's about the cost as well. So let's start with these 3 factors and see the implication in gaming. So how can we reimagine the process in our game using blockchain? These are some use cases. So introducing a token or tokenization. So if you introduce a token, you can enable the trading of those digital assets we were talking about. You can easily allow your users to exchange or sell those assets. You can also enable users to become shareholders of your game, because the value of your game will depend on the value of that ICO or that token. And if I'm a gamer, like I will become kind of shareholder in that game. Another example, which I will discuss with a real use case, is the ability to distribute royalties across the ecosystem. When you look at the cycle of development of a game, so you have the developer releases the code goes to the publisher will publish the game with a platform, and then you have many intervenants in that ecosystem. So you have to pay the developer, you have to pay for marketing, you have to pay for license, and it becomes very hard to track all those parties or all those payments. And blockchain can help with automated way of distribution of those benefits. Okay, speed and efficiency is also a key. If you establish trust, you can increase the speed, and you can automate workflows. So the example I gave previously about distributing shares between different intervenants, if it is automated, then it could have a really positive impact on the cycle of development of the platform or of the game. Okay, knowing your customer is another use case. You can collaborate with other gaming publishers, for example. So you can have the same identity defined with different games, and that could increase the collaboration you can have and increase the ecosystem around your game. Reducing costs or increasing benefits. How can we do this with blockchain? So some use cases, by nature, blockchain removes or reduces intermediaries. So that in itself is a cost that we are dropping. By removing intermediaries, we can enable micropayments. So because there is no fees on these transactions, so these transactions could be really little. We can go with micro payments or micro billing. We don't only reduce intermediaries, but we can also eliminate auditing partners, because everything is transparent, everything is shared, it cannot be manipulated. So basically, auditing could be embedded in the platform itself. And we can imagine other scenarios, like, for example, betting and bidding. Like bidding, if you are selling an asset, one of these digital assets, you can have a smart contract, for example, that will, in a transparent way, pick the best bidding price and execute it. So you might end up with a higher benefit. Betting is, I guess, in sports, for example, you're betting on something. Again, you can promote transparency, because you cannot manipulate the terms of the game, and that will result into more users, more consumers, and better community around your game. OK, the last driver we mentioned is mitigating risk. How can we mitigate risk in gaming by using blockchain? Well, establishing the trust and having transparency is a key factor here. If we're talking about gambling, for example, we say the house always wins. Well, if I'm gambling online and I'm losing money, how do I make sure this is my odd, but not a manipulated, for example, program? It's not dishonest from the vendor or from the publisher. So if these rules or these terms are sealed in a smart contract and they are automatically programmed and triggered, then I'm sure that those terms have been respected and nothing is wrong about the honesty of the publisher of the game. The data is by nature immutable. Remember, data is encrypted. It's stored in the ledger. So if, for example, I'm looking for who had the votes, for example, for the games, because that will reflect on the price or the value of my game. So I'm sure this cannot be manipulated. Those votes are stored in the distributed ledger and they are real. Same thing if, for example, considering scores, like who has the highest scores, who is the owner, proving the ownership of digital items. So all these informations, all this information which is critical for the value of my game are stored in the distributed ledger and cannot be manipulated. And other examples of use cases we can consider avoiding the double spend. So I cannot, for example, use my tokens to buy two different things at the same time. And because of the distributed nature of the ledger, again, there is no single server that you can hack. It becomes very hard to get a backdoor to one server and change anything, because everything is distributed. So we're not talking about fiction. We're applying those concepts as a company in Microsoft. And we have done this with Xbox. So the challenge we had is many developers, different publishers, and when you get the benefit, you have to distribute it among multiple parties. And this process used to take 45 days to do it and to do the reconciliation. By creating a blockchain between these different entities, so now if you're a developer and you publish, for example, your application or your game, let's say on Xbox, then see on the circle here. So you need to pay the content developer, the licensing, you need to pay marketing, distribution, content provider, so many parties. So we have automated this in a smart contract. And we moved from 45 days to near real time visibility on how much each of these parties are getting out of the benefit. So what is Azure building? Why Azure? Why do we consider cloud for these type of solutions? So Microsoft is a developer-centric company. We listen to developers. We've been engaging with developers for many, many years now. And when we asked developers what are the challenges they see with the blockchain today, so a couple of facts came back. It takes us months of development to deploy DLTs, make sure they are secure, adopt an operating model. It takes us a long time to create smart contracts. We don't know how to apply DevOps, for example, to iterate and change these smart contracts. It's very difficult to integrate with existing solutions because there is lots of integration that we need to apply. And we started reacting to those challenges. So what we thought is, as a developer, you need to focus on writing the business logic of your application or your game. You don't need to care about distributing deploying the infrastructure or doing the integration, ingesting the data, using APIs. So all those components are the hidden part of the iceberg that you don't see initially. So how did we tackle this challenge? First, we started by providing pre-populated templates, of known DLTs in our marketplace. So it becomes easy for you to deploy those solutions with a few clicks of a button. Okay, we started integrating those templates with cloud-managed services. If you need an API management, we have one. If you need off-chain database, we have many options. If you need to integrate with identity management, which is one of the most difficult scenarios in blockchain, well, we have integration with Active Directory. You can store your keys in a key management system that is managed by the platform. So we provided all the tools and plugins to do that integration. And then we built a simple interface to deploy the whole solution. So if we try to look at what we offer today, we offer multiple ledgers and topology choice. You can go for Ethereum, Hyperledger, Quorum, Chain, Corda, you name it. And what we do, we offer integration, native integration with Azure managed services and other ISV solutions like CRMs, ERPs, etc. And we offer a GUI, easy and simple graphical interface to do the deployment. So you can choose your ledger, you can choose the architecture you want to deploy in one node, multiple nodes, across different geographies, just for a POC, for a dev test, across multiple subscriptions. You answer those questions in a simple graphical interface, and then boom, you get your platform up and running. But we did not stop there. We keep innovating. So 2 weeks ago, we announced a DevOps kit for smart contracts. So if you are a developer and you want to apply DevOps for smart contracts, we are bringing the tools for you that you can leverage. If you want to look at the architecture behind the solution, so behind Workbench, which is the solution we discussed, as you can see, the DLT is just a simple piece of the big puzzle, but we offer multiple other services for API, for visualization with Power BI, for event ingestion if you have IoT sensors, for queues, SQL, NoSQL database, key management systems, identity management systems, and that completes and connects the full story. So to summarize, Blockchain Workbench is a platform as a service that we offer today on Azure. It simplifies the development, accelerates your time to value if you want to prove an idea, and it allows you to innovate because it has plug-in modules, so you're not stuck with one single solution. And you end up focusing only on your business logic, expanding capabilities, customizing integration. You leave the rest to us. So that's it. We have a few resources for you if you want to explore more about Workbench. And thank you for attending the session.
Understanding the history of gaming to shape its future. Sue Schneider, iGaming veteran.
Hello, my name is Sue Schneider. I've been in the iGaming business since 1995. I'm curious among you, how many of you have been in the business for 5 years or more? Can you put your hand up? How many of you have been in the business 10 years or more? Put your hand up. How about 15? Any? There we go, we get a couple. What I want to do is I've been asked to give a little bit of a history, because what happened for me anyway, was getting involved with this pretty quickly in 1995 and finding out it was a global business to begin with. It really had a couple of starts. One was in the Caribbean, and that tended to be more sports betting. Tended to be a lot of US bookies that went offshore, started up telephone betting, and then morphed into internet pretty quickly. Out of Africa, primarily driven by microgaming. There were casino games that came up, so there was another hub there. And another hub was in Canada, particularly in Montreal and Toronto for the most part, a little bit in Vancouver. And those tended to be more the software suppliers. So it truly was a global industry right from the very beginning. If you looked in the 90s, the bulk of the market for internet gambling, and it truly was the Wild West. There were no regulations. You were making it up as you went along. And the bulk of the market was in US players. So there really was a fight from the very beginning to try to keep prohibition from happening for the US. And really we were able to, as an industry, hold them off until 2006. And then we had the UIGEA bill, which kind of put a kibosh on the whole thing. We had a trade association at that point, Interactive Gaming Council, had 120 members between 96 and 2004, and I chaired it the whole time because nobody else wanted their face out there, and I was a publisher and an event organizer, so I was able to do that. Most clearly, as things have developed around the world, Australia was a big hub, primarily for sports betting. They're still struggling, frankly, to try to get other products in there. Europe, obviously, as you all well know, since many of you probably operate in Europe, has become another huge hub as the years have gone on. The US actually is taking another move forward now because of a Supreme Court decision that will now allow sports betting. I was just at a sports betting conference in New York, and the take-up on that is pretty dramatic. So I think what the challenges that we had mainly had to do with payments, and as we've become regulated with regulatory issues, and it's become an ongoing challenge, both of those. I think our other challenge in the industry has to do with innovation. And you're talking about some of the innovations here, whether they're esports, whether they're blockchain, cryptocurrency, all of those kind of things are really, really critical innovations. And the thing I would say is it's incumbent on all of you that are in more forward-thinking product areas to help educate traditional gaming industry. I'm going from here to the International Racing Symposium to talk about blockchain in Tucson, Arizona, and believe me, they have no clue. So we're going to be starting from scratch on that. So please take the time to develop educational programs and trying to get the traditional gaming industry, and in many cases you'll be partnering with them, but be patient with them and keep in mind that you're starting from scratch with an educational process. One of the last things that I want to mention, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, our industry is horrible at speaking with one voice, whether it's for educational efforts, whether it's for policy advocacy efforts, or whether it's for just generally even speaking with our consumers and having a good image. We're not very good at that. We're 20 years into this and we're still not very good at it. And so I would encourage you, whether it's in various jurisdictions or various verticals that you might be in, if you are able to try to come together on some things to be able to move it forward. I have a friend that has a word that I use a lot because I love it. It's called co-opetition. And that means that you may be competitors, but you're not going to get very far if you're not coming together to be able to have a single, solid, coherent voice on certain issues for education and policy. So with that, I'm going to leave it there.
Sit back as this conference comes to a close with some final remarks before the SiGMA startup pitch takes center stage. John Robbery, DGaming Media.
Hey everyone. That fantastic talk from Sue brings the DGaming conference to a close. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, but I just want to thank the fantastic speakers we've had today, and I hope they provided you with some great value. Also, I want to thank you guys for keeping your attention throughout the day. I know as the conference drags on, that can be pretty difficult, so thank you. If there's anything else you want to know about DGaming, please visit DGaming.com, and also feel free to contact me at johnrowbury@dgaming.com, and I can answer any further questions you have. Thank you.